Continuing our coverage from the ABCA, the 80th edition. Man, we have had so much fun reconnecting with those that care about the game like we do, certainly, and also meeting new faces, the future of the game here, whether it's inside the trade show or right inside the PGTV studios with the great guest. And my goodness, we have a crazy full lineup for you in the second day part here on Perfect Game TV from the ABCA. Hi there, folks. Glad to have you back, and I'm honored to sit in Danny Wexelman's chair. She's kicking it back out to the show, getting ready to go learn more about it. He's Hunter Pence. You've been such an asset to us, Hunter, your passion for the game. And I guess my simple-minded question for you is your instant takeaway as it pertains to running into a million people. I think everyone would lazily think, and I would be one of them, well, major league player. I'm sure there's a whole major league level of connection. You have all kinds of amateur connections out there that have warmed your heart, don't you?
Yeah, it really has, and it makes you remember it's a small world, and to realize the amount of teammates and people that I, throughout the journey of a baseball life and a baseball career, we all loved it and we all stayed in it. And to see some of my high school teammates who are now the high school coach, Walmack, good to see out there, Brian. And then also to see there's some of my high school teammates coaching junior college, some of my college teammates. So it's fascinating to see all of them again and to reconnect. And like you said, there's a wealth of knowledge here, there's a wealth of friendship, and there's a huge connection, which is one of the greatest gifts that baseball gives us.
How much energy has it infused in this second act for you, the next part of your life and your career, to be such a learner? You really are inquisitive. Does it kind of drive your heartbeat? I know coffee drives your heartbeat.
Yeah,
but beyond that, Hunter Pence, you're such a learner. Has it always been the case, and has that helped you in your second act?
Yeah, I think so. I'm curious. Like baseball is, you always have to be growing. There's more to learn. It's a beautiful game that's constantly changing and shifting, and they're even changing and shifting the rules. For me, it's like that problem-solving aspect of it. That how can I give a gift to someone who is interested in baseball? Like you have to A, learn it, and then B, teach it to pass it on and pass that knowledge. So I've been given the opportunity to play Major League Baseball, to talk to some of the greatest college coaches like we're about to talk to,
right,
and the greatest minds in baseball. Sometimes what I found is actually many of the college coaches are ahead of a lot of what's going on in the big leagues, and there's stuff to pull from everyone and everywhere. And so I'm having a blast. It's a lot of fun for me, and I've learned many life lessons as well as tricks to baseball at the same time.
Yeah, it's incredible. It's incredible the way you ask questions. I love it. By the way, the second half of this day, Texas A&M head coach Jim Schlossnagle, Northwestern College's Brian Weedy for the NAIA, Ensworth High School's Jason Maxwell, USC's Andy Stankiewicz, Bobby Witt Sr. and Jr. will be coming by. John Savage, the head coach of UCLA. Cole Hamels will be coming by. He played with Hunter Pence, representing the Hunter Pence Baseball Academy. Aaron Cunningham will be joining us. Tyrone Brooks, the growth of inclusion and diversity in Major League Baseball. Tyrone Brooks will be joining us. Rob Ponger will join us, the CEO of Perfect Game. But let's kick this thing off. Let's talk with Jim Schlossnagle, who spends time with us now. Hi, Jim.
Hey, Darren. How you doing?
Can you believe they let us do this? Can you believe that amateur baseball has grown to this? We thank people like you for growing the sport.
Yeah, I just honored to be a small part of it on the college side, but appreciate everything you guys do on a daily basis to help grow our sport, no doubt.
Here's where I want to go, because I always, and like Hunter, who's a lifelong baseball guy, he's new to this convention. I still feel very new to it. You're a leader. You're a board member. It's very important to you. So from your eyes, from your perspective, explain to people who don't understand what this convention means, from the small guy that coaches high school in Kansas to you, a high-level college coach. What does it mean, coach to coach?
Yeah, I mean, this is my 33rd convention, and the first time I came, I was a student assistant coach at Elon College in North Carolina, working to get my teacher's certificate, thinking I was going to be a high school coach. And you come to this thing, and now it's just, there's so many opportunities to learn. There's literally no excuse to connect with people, create your own network, learn. There's youth sessions, there's the big clinics, there's hot stove sessions where you can just go in there and sit in there and talk the game. And then obviously, hang out with your friends and colleagues. And so it's continued to grow. And now look at this. We have live shows going on throughout, and Perfect Game being here, and it continues to be such an asset to our sport.
And for you, too, as you work through all of it, some decisions were made. And I want to go kind of newsy before Hunter goes deeper with you. We're learning what the KPI is. Now, basically, the RPI is the selection committee gets together, and we're now breaking things up a little bit. We're neutral site games, road games. As they get to that selection Monday and build out those teams on the bubble, you guys here at the ABCA have kind of deepened the qualifying, abilities of people to make team selections. Explain.
Last night's
not the science of it. I don't want to know about.
Yeah, I mean, to be real frank with you, last night's the first night I've heard of KPI.
Yeah,
and there have been some other. I know 643 charts are doing some itinerations of something similar to maybe give us another metric to look at. But it's so tough to try and pick those 64 teams. I sure would love to see us expand the NCAA tournament.
Okay.
But it is, as a coach, you just want to know what you're being judged by. You look at college football. I mean, Florida State wins every game, and they don't get to play for a championship. So
right.
In college baseball, there's so many. The West is so different than the South, and the South is so different from the North. Finding a metric that somebody can use is really hard. But I think I did look at the KPI thing a little bit this morning, and then looking at the quadrant thing they talked about last night at our meeting. Neutral site games, road games. As a coach, you just want to know what you're going to be judged by. How do you set up a schedule? Just tell me what to schedule to give us the best chance. We know that what the SEC is capable of in terms of if you're competitive in our league, but there's so many good teams. I mean, my first year at A&M, there were four of the 8 teams in the College World Series just weren't from the SEC. They're from the SEC West, and the fifth place team in our division won the national title. And so it's so tough to figure out how to schedule to give your team the best chance to be in the NCAA tournament.
Yeah, especially with so many teams that are so talented packed into the SEC. It is just a hotbed of it's basically a professional level, minor league level, higher minor league level conference. It's just the way it is. So I wanted to jump back to 33 years of experience here at this conference. It's probably changed a lot. You've changed a lot, obviously. You're one of the best college coaches, one of the greatest minds in all of baseball. But I want to just – if you were coming to your first one as a young college coach or not even college coach, like a young aspiring to learn, what would be your advice to that person? How can they take the most out of this? Because there's no way you can swallow up all of this information in one day. What would you tell your younger self that started this off, and what would you tell someone today?
Yeah, I mean, first thing I'd pack a bunch of protein bars in a backpack and forget about eating lunch.
Yep.
Because every time you're hanging out with your buddies or trying to eat a meal, you're missing something that you can have the opportunity to learn. The beauty of the ABCA now with the ABC app and the website is almost everything's videoed. And so if you do miss something, if you see, oh, wow, I'd really like to go to that youth clinic, but shoot, I don't want to miss Tim Corbin talking, or I don't want to miss Jay Johnson talking this morning. You can go back and look it up. And being a member of the ABCA, and I still use it almost on a daily basis during fall practice especially, is if I'm like, golly, there's got to be a way we can coach our catcher better at X. You can go on the ABC app, and you look at every video ever on catching. And you can, whether it be Jerry Weinstein or somebody else, on catching, you can. There's literally no excuse. So I would sit in the front row as close as I could and try and soak in as much as I can. But just use this time as a learning opportunity, to improve yourself, because you owe it to your players.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a wealth of knowledge. And you actually hit me on something, and I know it's very niche, and there's a lot of more general things I'd like to ask you. But I just watched this whole tape on the 2 World Series teams and some of the strikes that these catchers were able to steal. Now, it's gone through a bunch of waves, and obviously we're talking about machine umpires and whatnot, which takes away that whole skill. How are you coaching catching and receiving? Because right now it looks like it's like rip it right to the middle, almost everything you catch, and just act like it was a strike.
Yeah.
Is that the new science?
Yeah, I'm learning too. I grew up in an era where you had my man for the Braves just sitting on the outside corner and watching Glavine and Schmaltz and Avery and Maddox just pelt it and not move, and that's not the case anymore. The umpires are now, the TrackMan has changed everything. Some news we got last night that TrackMan will now be in the postseason. in the NCAA and the College World Series, which it has not been. And so the strike zone that we had in the SEC was not the strike zone that it was in the regional, super regional, the College World Series. It's a lot broader strike zone. Now the umpire is going to be held more accountable in the postseason. So that catcher doing his deal it's very important. Good umpires, not going to be fooled by that, but these guys are so talented. The kid in NC State, the catcher at Florida last year, those guys, they're noticeably can change a game for a pitcher.
Yeah, so I guess that would lead me to, we've had several conversations, and you've always blown me away with kind of the mental programming. For me, I think the mental side of baseball was almost like my soul's journey in baseball. Is learn to master your mind, you learn to master the game, learn to master yourself. Talk a little bit more, if you don't mind, kind of the mental program you put through your players and the tools that they have at A&M and just that program in general.
Yeah, so I'm just a huge believer in the mental game. The premise is you can't be in control of your performance unless you're in control of yourself, right? And you can attest to this. We all know that the big leagues is tougher than college, but really, and at bat at UTA and at bat in AA and at bat in the big leagues, it's still in that bat. A fly ball is still a fly ball, but everything else is different. So how can you shut out the things you can't control and control the things you can and be in control of yourself? And so I've been the longest standing client of a guy named Brian Kane since 2006. And he's been our kind of sports performance mental game coach. He's been, we have weekly Zoom calls with Brian. He comes in 4 or 5 times a year. But if you don't believe in that as a staff, if you don't preach that language every single day, then that's nothing. Like, you don't want to do a lot of little. You want to do a little a lot. You want to do so every single day. And so, for example, the very first thing we ever do with our hitters, first meeting in August of the fall, once we meet briefly in the classroom, we go straight into the cages, and we don't hit them. We're talking routine. How if the umpire just hammered you on a pitch, how are you going to flush that and move on to the next pitch and stay in the present moment? And so mental skills are just like physical skills. They can be practiced, but you have to practice them so that when you get in those super regional moments or the College World Series or whatever that is, whether it be high school or whatever, you just do what you do. You take your breath, you trust your routine, and you try and win the next pitch.
It has me wanting to follow up on a specific player, Hunter. I love that you guys are going down this path, and that's Ryan Targach. Had that amazing first year, and I read, and you coached him all year, where maybe he took a step back, but I also see a player that walked a bunch, got on base at a 370 clip. You don't read the stats deeply enough if you wrote that about him. And I always think back to Matt McClain. He and I have discovered, more of learning about him from Coach Savage, who we'll have on later. He gambled on himself. He struggled that first year. He's in the big leagues now. Yeah. And so as you look at Ryan and what he learned on the mental side last year, or maybe he did take a small step back, I'd love an update on him, A, and B, how he learned through what you guys are talking about.
Yeah, so, without telling the whole story because that's personal to him, but, he went through some things off the field.
Sure.
That he allowed, and we all, because we're all imperfect, he allowed something away from the field to affect him throughout the course of an entire season. And then our last weekend at Mississippi State, I had him in my room, and he revealed some things to me that even as the coach I didn't know. And once he worked through that, had an unbelievable series against Mississippi State, had a great SEC tournament, and hit a homer lefty and a homer righty in a regional at Stanford. And so, and it was a great lesson for him. I was like, buddy, if you're going to play this game, like if you get married and have children, you're going to have to learn, as if you're in the big leagues, you still got to be able to, your identity versus your assignment. My identity is I'm Ryan Targach. My assignment currently at this point in my life is I'm a baseball player. That's not always going to be your assignment. Right, you're not always going to play baseball, so you have to learn to separate those things and be in the present moment. So, number one, Ryan's healthier. Hope knock on wood. But he's healthy. I think he's matured through all of that adversity, and certainly, my first year he led the SEC in SEC games only. He led the SEC in RBIs. So if we could get that, sandwiched around guys like Braden Montgomery and Jace Lavalette and Teddy Burton, all the different good players we have, and it's got a chance to be a fun lineup.
You brought up Braden, and I'm not supposed to have favorites. None of us are, but you'll understand why he is a favorite, knowing him since his sophomore year in high school. And he chose to make a change, and then he chose you guys. Kind of explain to us how he's fit in and what you earned as a program in adding a player like him. Maybe as a man, too, not just as a player.
Well, anytime, Hunter would tell you, anytime your very, very best players are also your very hardest workers and your greatest teammates and selfless, and anytime those guys are that, you got a chance to be pretty special.
Yeah.
And it was a really weird deal. If you talk to Braden, he absolutely loves Stanford. He loves Coach Esker. The decision he made is personal to him, and I would never speak for him. But the way he's handled himself coming in our locker room and diving into every single player, the walk-on freshman to Jace Lavalette, who he played with on the USA team, has just been phenomenal. And he's, the Aggie land's a little bit different than most places, right? And he's dove into that as well. And, he may only be there. Let me see, he moved in probably in August, and, the draft's in July. Hopefully we'll play till the end of June. But, he may not be in College Station for even a full 12 months.
Yeah.
But he's totally bought into being a great teammate. And his challenge, and my challenge to Braden is, enjoy this year, because it's not always going to be like this, as you know. After this year, if he stays healthy and has a year we all hope he can have, he's going to be playing for, it's a business, and it's not going to be for a team necessarily in your teammates. It's going to be for how can I get to the big leagues. And so a lot of players lose that innocence when they get to professional baseball. So just enjoy it for what it is at the moment.
Yeah, but no matter whether you say that or not, this year is huge for him individually and obviously, collectively for the team. How do you manage these kids? Obviously, he's had the pressure from the get-go. He's been to 2 College World Series. How do you, as the head coach, kind of help them deal with, because there's going to be scouts at every game. There's going to be an insane pressure, not only for him. Many of your players that come to A&M nowadays, every one of them is a level where they have the dream. If you've made it to A&M, you are aspiring to be a professional baseball player as well. And so what is your kind of advice to kids in that scenario? Because I remember, I can go back to my time when it was my junior year, and, there was so much pressure in every game. I was like, I have to prove there could be a scout here that I belong in the big leagues today. And I just never really had anyone that gave me any guidance to that. Like, I put too much pressure on myself. I guess, what is your kind of...
Yeah, that's the age-old question. That's
tough.
That's where the mental game comes in, and you're trying to get them to keep perspective. We use the saying, compared to what, a lot. Golly, Coach, I just went 0 for 4. There were 9 scouts today. It's so horrible. Compared to what? Walk down to the local children's hospital and let's see how serious it is, right? So just compared to what? What are the things you can control? I can control my routine. I can control my preparation. Trust. And I think, I do believe in kids that have grown up through Perfect Game, through social media. He's dealt with that a lot, more so than probably you had to deal with. Definitely more than someone my age had to deal with growing up. So they're a little more used to it than the young player 10 years ago. But that doesn't make it any easier. And so I sat down with him one time in the fall and I said, buddy, my expectation for you is that you smile and that you have fun. And we're going to make the dugout a great place and fun and safe place to be, and you're going to go just compete your rear end off and live with the results because you can't control them.
Yeah, there's definitely going to be a lot of fun, that A&M atmosphere. I know that it was wild and crazy way back when I was in school. Can you describe it now? Just the atmosphere at an A&M game, because I know they have all the chants and the things that you never forget.
Yeah.
But yeah, I guess give someone who's never been to an A&M game a pitch on why they should come and watch a game, if they can get a ticket. I don't even know if they can.
Yeah, we'll make sure they can get a ticket if they want to get in. We'll leave a door open. The 12th man is just it's a very unique thing, and we don't have enough time to go through all of that. But there's a lot of places where there's a lot of fans. There's not a lot of places where they're truly united in how they cheer for the team. And the old saying is, if you're from the outside looking in, you don't understand it. When the inside looking out, you can't explain it. We didn't have the greatest football season this year, and we're at the end of the season, we're playing Abilene Christian on the Saturday before Thanksgiving, and we have 104,000 people. right? And so
Yes, that is
they're
amazing.
so loyal, so electric, so locked into every game. And yes, there's a lot of traditions and a lot of we don't have all the yell leaders at our games or anything like that, but we do have. There's a lot going on,
Yeah.
and when you become a part of that, it's truly special because we all know this game is you're not going to play it forever. So being a part of that Aggie network, over 500,000 former students, we have 77,500 students. So for the rest of Braden Montgomery's life or Jace Lavallette's life, whether they play in the big leagues or not, they're going to be able to lean on that network for the rest of their adult life. And so it is a very unique experience and something that I would encourage everybody to endure. I've endured the other side.
Yep, me too.
I've been in the visiting dugout during the Super Regional as the coach at TCU, so I know exactly how tough it is as the visiting team.
Thank you, Jim. We appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
Two-time National Coach of the Year. Great to connect with him. 8 times he's been a Conference Coach of the Year as well. When we come back, I actually was able to step away during our brief hiatus of shows and have a conversation with Hall of Famer Frank Thomas. Why is he visiting? What advice would he have when he was back playing football and baseball in high school at Columbus High School or at Auburn for Hal Baird? That's my conversation right around the corner from the ABCA, the 80th edition, the American Baseball Coaches Association Convention. More in a moment.
Oh, yeah. Been waiting for this one.
Low gear. So I'm going to let you do the pitch and understand because we were nice enough to be invited by you. We feel very lucky. So why are you here? Tell us about this great company.
Well, we're happy to introduce Kilo Gear, which I call the new secret sauce of all sports. It's the #1 weighted fitness gear in the world, ratified by the Olympics, and now we're bringing it to Major League Baseball, college baseball, high school baseball, youth baseball.
That's outstanding. Trent, tell us a little bit about this is your life's work. This is your heartbeat. Frank's alongside, but why don't you give us a bit of a deeper dive?
Yeah, so Kilo Gear is a sports science company and premium fitness brand. We make the most advanced weighted performance gear in the world. All micro loads on the muscle bellies, on the tops and bottoms of the body. And we're seeing just incredible performance improvements for baseball, as well as helping these athletes stay safer. So we're really excited to introduce this big league thing, an Olympic thing. We won 4 gold medals at the last Olympics in speed alone. So we're the gold standard in sports science, and we're really happy to take this wearable approach and bring that to baseball and bring Frank in as not only a spokesman for Kilo Gear, he's actually a partner with Kilo Gear. So we're really excited to have him and introduce this to the Perfect Game community.
Welcome. May I steal him for just a minute, Trent?
Please do.
All right.
Thank you, because I like working with Trent.
Yeah, I don't blame you.
Because he can explain his brand a lot better than anybody ever been around.
He makes the room very smart.
Most people think I'm just a pitcher. I'm not a pitcher man for these guys. I'm a partner. So I believe in it. I've trained in it. I've worked in it. I've been here now. I'm almost 10 months. And we're just, taking out all the landscape, all the teams, worldwide. This is the new secret sauce of sports.
Congratulations.
Thank you, Derek.
Come back in time with me. Columbus, Georgia, Columbus High School. A lot of our viewers or their parents are dealing with that age. You played football well. You played baseball well. For you, what are your recollections? Maybe junior year, senior year. You ended up with Hal Baird. You ended up on the football team as well at Auburn. But junior, senior year of high school, take me back. What do you recall about your life then?
It became tough because I had to make a decision. I played all 3 sports. I played basketball also. And it came down to 2 sports, so I had to eliminate basketball, and my high school didn't like that because I was the star player on the basketball team too. For me, my whole life has been about sports. It was my out in Columbus, Georgia, small town, but there was not many avenues to get out as a young man except the military or an athlete. And I maximized it. I'm blessed, I'm honored, but I spent the time working.
It's interesting, and you mentioned the military, so I want to bring that up. So I was at Auburn Montgomery. When you were at Auburn, we didn't play each other. We were a little NAIA school coached by QV Lowe. But at the same time, I had 2 teammates, both of them from rural Alabama, that went and fought overseas. I lost my 3rd baseman and my catcher. At about the same time, your brother Michael went overseas as well. What do you recollect about that? Those guys weren't my brothers. They were my teammates, but it was an interesting learning experience.
I got to thank my brother because I ran with his crowd. 4 years older than me, and I always played sports with those guys. That's why I always felt advanced. He's a military guy. We grew up in a military town, Columbus, Georgia. Fort Bend is right there. So that's the path he chose. Into wars, scary. Didn't think he would come back, and he did. And he's still one of my best friends in the world.
Wow, so that older mentorship, I'm learning now just as you share it, that older mentorship, huge for you, huh?
I tell everyone, watch out for the baby kid in the family, because we get beat down. And for me, hanging with that group made me stronger, more character, and wanted to succeed.
So you make your decision, you go to Auburn, and it was in national news. For me being in state watching you do it, it was incredible to see you do it. Kind of walk me through how you managed those 2 parts of your life and also make your grades.
Well, I knew I had to make my grades at Auburn University. They told you that when you got there. If you can't pass, you will not play. You got to get your education first. And I was aware of that, and I loved it because I grew up early in life. Luckily, went to a private school in Columbus for a little while and learned the benefits of education. So getting to Auburn, I knew schoolwork first, practice second, and you better balance that. So guess what? I missed a lot of partying, a lot of parties. Was not a part of my life because I played 2 sports at a major university.
How much of the football player made you a better baseball player? We talk to 2-sport guys all the time, but usually when they get to college, that's it. They pick baseball. But we're dealing with seniors, elite players that will manage to try and play football as long as they can. How much did the football player, Frank Thomas, help the baseball player?
Everything. Weightlifting. I think that was my advantage, the biggest, strongest guy on the field. And that's why I'm so happy to be a part of Kilo Gear. That secret sauce, to get guys to work harder, stronger in the weight room. But something about Kilo Gear, we're working smarter, not harder.
Yeah.
You're like the human donut walking around now. You wearable weights. You wear them all day long. You get bigger, faster, stronger just by wearing Kilo Gear.
So for you then, the strength you gained as a football player, did you have to kind of manage that though? Because we all know, right, as a baseball player, you were a very agile athlete. You turned out to be an elite first baseman. Did the strength and flexibility, how did you manage the strength that you were gaining in football as a baseball player?
I'll tell you what, it was a lot of heavy lifting because, blocking 300-pound defensive tackles in the SEC is really tough. But I did a lot of stretching because I knew I had to be flexible on the baseball field. So it worked hand in hand, and I'm proud I did it. I'm happy I did it. But that was my biggest key in pro sports, to be the biggest, strongest guy on the field.
So I make a huge mistake if I don't ask you very simply. And by the way, if we're allowed to pan the camera over there and shoot the banner just right over there, I know I'm directing.
Yes.
That's your son.
Yes.
So I'm speaking on behalf of your son and young athletes when I ask you this question. What advice do you have for young athletes as they're going into that junior year, senior year? Maybe they're good enough to get invited to a showcase. Hall of Famer, what advice do you have?
One word: commitment. If you want to be a player going to the next level, you got to be committed. You got to work hard every day. There's no shortcuts, and I tell the guys every time, if you want to be where I got from a small town, it's hard work and dedication.
Thank you for your time.
It's a pleasure. Thanks for having me.
And I'm very glad you're alive and well.
Oh, yeah, I'm alive and well.
Very glad.
No, I didn't die last week.
Frank Thomas. Frank Thomas.
It was a strange week, guys. Reported that I died. I'm like, the strangest thing I ever see on TV is your obituary. So, yes.
I debated bringing that up, but it was just kind of there.
No, I'm living with it. I had 1 million calls. It was kind of sad for a minute because people left some voicemails to me that I was like, holy cow.
God bless you.
I do have some real friends.
Yeah, absolutely.
I found that out on Friday.
Hey, listen, we appreciate it. And good luck to your son.
Thanks, Darren. He's ready.
Yeah, that's outstanding. So that's the conversation. Kilo Gear is the brand. This is a Hall of Famer in that same hallowed hall that my father's career lives. And so it's definitely an honor to spend time with the Hall of Famer. And I think of Dad as well. When we come back, more great conversations. We'll go back to the desk, Hunter Pence and I. And we're at the ABCA. We're learning from these coaches. Glad to have you with us at the Gaylord. Not too far from the flight pattern of DFW, right here on Perfect Game TV.
Can I get it in one more time?
Do it.
KiloGear.com. Check us out.
There you go. The real living Frank Thomas.
I never let myself believe that I was gonna be in the big leagues. I always worked for it until I achieved it. Back in Puerto Rico, I remember my dad would hit me ground balls from the top of the hill. That forced me to always move my feet. There were no limits to where I could go, so I play with no limits.
level. I selfishly love it. I played at that level. And we are joined by Northwestern College out of Iowa. Brian Weedy spends time with us. Brian, thanks for hanging out with Hunter and I. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, I'm excited to be here and excited for the opportunity. And what a great thing you guys are doing coming live here. This is awesome.
We're lucky to do it. And like Hunter and I were saying, we're lucky to learn from men like you. And so here comes the ABCA, and we learn all about its history and the impact you have. Now, you're a leader. You're called upon as part of the executive committee with the NAIA. When you put that hat on, what are some of your roles?
Yeah, so I'm kind of the liaison to keep the ABCA updated with what the NAIA is doing, some of the things that we're trying to pass or the movements that the coaching body would like to make within baseball and with our national office at the NAIA offices. So I'm kind of serving in between those two and kind of communicating and trying to be a good representative for our coaches if there are things that we want from the ABCA, helping with polls or surveys and that type of stuff.
Do you find yourself in these situations? Because having Jim Schlossnagle just a moment ago, open up and say, hey, when I came here, I was an assistant at an NAIA school, which has now moved to Division I. But do you find yourself every year learning a couple of new things and not where we would expect it? I think we always think, okay, well, it's going to be from Tim Corbin. He's the one you're going to learn from. With all due respect, Tim, sorry. But maybe from a high school coach, maybe from a JUCO coach. Do you find yourself learning sometimes from the most unique spaces?
Oh, absolutely. And you never know when that could happen. It could be at the bar on Friday night, and it could be just a random conversation on Thursday at one of the meetings. And that's what's so incredible about this is just how many coaches are here. If you came here and didn't learn something, then you really were just locked in your room the whole time.
Yeah, there's an incredible opportunity to make connections. There's an incredible opportunity for growth, and it's a lot of times those small conversations. Take me back. You've coached for 20 years. You have 400 wins. Who you were then, who you are now. This has kind of been a question I've liked to ask, but how have you grown in those 20 years? What have you learned most about coaching? And if you were to give advice to a young coach, what would it be?
Yeah, that's a pretty deep question. So my first year as an assistant coach, I was right out of college. Didn't really know enough about the personal side of coaching. It was more just about baseball and wanting to teach guys how to play the game. And when you find out how much the people matter and when you start to influence people more, how that changes your success, that's the biggest thing that I learned, that I've learned in my coaching career is that the people are really the most important thing. And that's where the joy comes from too. That's where, you maybe don't have a win-loss season like what you would want, but you can still have a fun season, a rewarding season from a personal standpoint because that can fill your cup.
Yeah, we had this discussion earlier and we were talking about how a lot of the teams, you take a step back and you get more personal. And, if you're only, data and stats and the numbers, you actually start doing even better when you do get more personal. And so let's dig a little bit deeper on that because I love this conversation. Tell us a little bit about your coaches and how you create those personal relationships and how that grows and how you utilize them to the best of their ability.
Yeah, so my full-time assistant coach is Nolan Hoff. He's our hitting coach. He runs our offense, and we do meetings with our guys pretty frequently, and we'll talk about everything. We're a Christian college where we're at, so we do a bunch of stuff with faith and integrating faith into the game, and Nolan is really, really good at that stuff. He's getting his master's in biblical studies, so he kind of leads that for us. My pitching coach is actually our graduate assistant, Ben Coldiron. So he just got done playing last year. So we're kind of helping him with all of that stuff because he's a lot like I was when I started coaching. Really driven with the numbers side of things and the drills and that kind of stuff. And then we have Jeff Scouten as a professor on our campus who is a 16-year head coach who provides a ton of wisdom in that area that does a lot with culture building and just spends a lot of time and has those personal relationships and tries to get to know guys as best as he can,
Yeah, it's amazing. Now, this is something we haven't talked about much today, and I want to just dive in with you for good time's sake. Let's talk offense a little bit. You mentioned the hitting coach and bringing faith into hitting, and I'm a big mental guy, but what is your kind of philosophy on hitting culture, on getting the most out of your teams, and how does it shift from year to year, and as the players shift, how do you make that dynamic happen?
Well, first of all, you have to know who you are. We don't get guys with real high exit velos very often. Guys that can launch the ball out of the yard, and that's what we want to work on. We have guys that some of them are super fast, but they don't have great bat-to-ball skills yet, so we need to work on bunting in the small game, and our misses probably should be on the ground, so we work on low line drives and that sort of stuff. So helping our guys understand who they are, which could be completely different than who they are in a high school game, is something that we work hard on. We talk a lot about two-strike approach stuff and making a physical adjustment along with being really sound mentally and dominating the strike zone. Pitch decision is so important in our game, and that's where, at our level, that's where a lot of the failed hitters is because of their swing decisions.
And one more, Darren, before I let you jump in. Speaking of pitch decision, this is something I learned at the end of my career is, you always talk about it like swing at a good pitch, but I never really found a way or even thought of practicing it till the very end of my career. It was like, let's practice taking balls. And we set the machine up to throw balls, or we did flips with the intention of like only 1 out of 5 is going to be good. It was very hard for me. I was an over-aggressive hitter. Have you found any drills, or is there anything out there in particular to work on pitch decision, or is it just a mental intention?
Well, the old wobbly pitching machine, two-wheeled jugs machines.
Yeah.
Sometimes those throw enough balls that can do it. But every day we try to challenge our guys with timing stuff. We want to challenge them with a drill that's going to mess with their timing and with their swing decisions. So even a BP thrower mixing in balls, or if we're working on outer half pitches, still throwing inside pitches that cause them to make a good decision. Every day we want to do those two things in our practices.
So whenever I would look at an NAIA school in Iowa, I would think, all right, I'm going to scan the roster, and it's going to be a bunch of Iowans, right? I went to an NAIA school in Alabama. Honestly, much like you were able to recruit, QV Low way back when recruited kids from all over the country. I'm from Southern California, went to Alabama. Here's where I'm going with this. When I look at this year's roster, your small faith-based school from Iowa has 11 states represented, right? So I see Iowa, but Colorado, South Dakota, Texas, Montana, Missouri, Wisconsin, South Carolina, Nebraska, California, Wyoming. How do you recruit? Because is it you only find them, or is it two ways? Do some of them find you? That's incredible diversity.
Yeah, it's two ways for sure. We have our guys that we are pretty intentional with, that we want to come fill a hole, or someone that we're targeting. But there are kids out there who are looking for a faith-based school, want to play baseball, and reach out to us. The kids from South Carolina, for example, there's a set of twins. Their mom was an alum, so they reached out to me. I had no idea who they were, never saw them play. They reached out to me, and it's like, okay, they have a connection, and so they fit with what we were looking for. So there's a lot of two-way, where they find us or we find them. It's pretty unique. The baseball world has gotten really small for players. They just have to be resourceful, and coaches will find you if you're good enough.
Well, much like when he got to professional baseball, that's great for the athletes. I mean, being around, not everyone looks like you, not everyone's from the same place as you, maybe different socioeconomic settings. That's a great way to grow up, isn't it, for your players?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, Sam Stanford, one of our California guys, he came out there and knew nobody on our team. He didn't know one single person on our team, came out for a visit, and I absolutely had a great time, and he's been a 4-year starter for us, or will be a 4-year starter for us. And yeah, it's pretty awesome. It's a really good time for them to grow up and kind of figure out who they are.
Hold on now. You're talking about my guy, Sammy Stanford, huh?
Yeah.
I mean, we interviewed last year. I love the fact that you had a true-blown L.A. guy on your roster in the middle of Iowa. I can look at his numbers, right? I see a 400 on base. I see a really good year. I noticed he doesn't walk or strike out, so he puts it in play. But what's my Sammy Stanford update? I need to know.
Oh, my gosh. Sam Stanford is, and this is a bad reference, but Sam Stanford is Jose Altuve. He does not walk, he doesn't strike out, and his bat-to-ball skills are incredible. Like, the barrel is always on the ball. He swings at pitches he shouldn't, kind of like you did once in a while, but he can get the bat to it. And so he has a high batting average and a low on-base percentage for how high his batting average is. But and he's a Gold Glove defender at third base for us. So, yeah.
Classic Astros fan, given the Jose Altuve comparison. You mentioned that offset. I want to dive into a little bit more of just the, being here at this event, the ABCA, your role with the NAIA. What is some of the things that the coaches at the NAIA are looking to improve upon and change in particular? Is there anything in particular? And is there anything at this event that you've learned so far or are looking to listen to and learn about?
Yeah. So the NAIA coaches right now, most of our discussions have revolved around our World Series bracket, trying to tweak the World Series bracket to get it exactly how we want it, and which would involve a few minor changes to the bracket. So those are things that we passed this year. We're working with our softball association to change our fall workout dates. So currently in the NAIA, we get 24 weeks through the school year to work with our players out of a typical 32-week calendar. So 16 generally is in the spring semester, which leaves us with 8 weeks. The NAIA does weeks, not hours or days. We're going to ask the NAIA to allow us to have 50 days instead of those weeks, which would allow coaches a little bit more flexibility. And so we're kind of working through some of that stuff. In terms of what I've learned here, man, it's the highlight for me is always hearing the national championship coach talk through their year and how they built the championship culture. And LSU had an incredible year, and it's so fun to hear Coach talk about what they did. And that's always the highlight for me every single year. It's like a can't miss talk.
Is there, if you've listened to it for however many years you have, and you're always listening to someone coming off a championship season, this is something I like to listen to and look for is common threads. What are some of the common threads of championship culture that you've learned throughout the years?
Well, they're really good at being excellent. Like they talk about excellence a lot, and winning matters to them, and they're bold about saying that winning matters. But I think how the team relates to each other and the culture and the care that the players have for the players and vice versa with the coaches, that's what they all kind of make. I mean, every team has good players, and there's got to be something different. And generally, it's the belief that the players have in the coaches, and the coaches have in the players, and the players the players. At least that's a common thread that I see.
As an NAIA alum, I want to quickly bump back to the fact of Lewis Clark State hosting it for years now. I think everyone assumes that, okay, they're going to win it every year. And, Georgia Gwinnett won it a couple of years ago. Southeastern in Florida, the Fire, I believe they're called. Hunter and I have talked with their program. And then Westmont won it last year. That's my neck of the woods. Even though it's hosted in a beautiful home ballpark by a team, I'm going to tell you, having played in it, I'm old enough to say almost 2 generations ago, in the championship game against Lewis Clark, there may not be a better World Series. I understand what Omaha is. I respect it. But outside of that, there's nothing better than Lewiston, Idaho.
100% agree. 100% agree. It's an incredible atmosphere out there, especially when LC State is playing. They're going to get 5,000, 5,500 fans there, and that's something that our kids don't get the opportunity to experience throughout the whole year. Or Division II or Division III. It's even with junior college, it's the second best attended World Series that baseball has to offer at the collegiate level, and the setting is beautiful. Lewiston, Idaho is just a beautiful place, and the Snake River, and man, it's an incredible experience. And everybody that goes out there with their team, they leave and they say it can never leave there. Like, it has to be in Lewiston.
Well, and I was part of one of the years that they tried it somewhere else, and it didn't go well, and it wasn't fun, respectfully, to the efforts of my former governing body, NAIA. It was bad. It was an empty AAA stadium, and we were lucky to go multiple years when I played there. But I know they're about to wrap us up in my ear, but I just want to, for all that are watching, and partly for Hunter's sake, I'd love for you to, and just give me the update, where would you place NAIA baseball? If you're going to take the top 50 teams and throw them in a bucket, the level of competitiveness. I mean, look, if you're going to take a 300th team at D1 and a 300th team at the NAIA, I know there's drop-off. I respect that. But I'm talking top 50 teams in the NAIA. How good is the baseball?
It's really good. It's really good. We finished 7th in our league last year, and we had 3 arms that would get real close to 90. There was a team in our league that finished 8th that would have 4 starters that touched 90. So it's really good baseball, and that's not in the top 50.
Right.
So, the top 50 teams would be upper-level Division II teams that have guys that are really good, that most of them will have someone that plays professional baseball. Might not be affiliated ball, but it's college baseball, with the change in the Major League Draft, how many players are going to college baseball is trickling down to our level, and we have very good players on every team. You know, we have low 90s arms from the outfield, guys that run 6'6", like there are pro metric type guys on every single team, and those top 50 teams have multiple of them. So they're very, very competitive.
I love the NAI. I'll always stump for the NAI, Brian. Thanks for hanging out with us. We really appreciate
you got it.
it.
Thanks for having me.
Incredible stuff. Brian Weedy at Northwestern in Iowa. Players from all around the country. When we come back, let's see, we'll open it up. We're going to talk to Ensworth High School's Jason Maxwell. That conversation about a man who leads outstanding baseball in the state of Tennessee, but also at the Team USA level, touching so many lives as well. It's Coach Maxwell when we come back on Perfect Game TV at the ABCA.
I need all the wins. Ain't no L's, gotta get it, no call it quits. Gotta keep on moving no matter how hard it gets. Better move out the way, cause I'm coming with harder hits. My head is as hard as a brick, but I'm harder than all it is. You better move, you might get knocked out. You better move, you might get knocked out.
I feel like Mike Jordan. Give me the rock and I'm scoring. Hey, came from the bottom, that's scoring. I swear that I'm up for the sun in the morning. I told him this ain't a game.
For a couple of decades now. Jason, thanks for hanging out with Hunter and I. We really appreciate it.
It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you guys for having me on.
Remind me of your specific role with the ABCA, because you're brought here with the purpose.
Yeah, I'm pretty busy, but I am the high school division chair, so I oversee high school meetings, all-American committees, just running around trying to make sure everybody's in line and doing things that what we're supposed to do, impacting kids. Make sure that's the most important thing that we do here.
Representing high school baseball.
Representing high school baseball. There's no, I mean, you know, you're touching lives of so many kids, obviously kids who are going to continue at the next level playing college baseball or maybe even professionally, but you're also impacting young men and kids who don't have that baseball path, teaching them to grow and be better men. So you're grooming them, so to speak, along with their parents.
And what I love about, you know, the touch and feel of high school baseball, being a really successful high school coach, is you also very successfully have dipped your foot in the pool. It's not traditional travel baseball, but then again it is when you're representing Team USA. You're traveling away from your town. You're wearing that USA jersey, going to a camp in Cary. So you're travel baseball, high school baseball. Have you seen those two grow closer together, those two groups? Because for the player, they need to.
The player has to, right? Because, and it also for coaches, because it has to be a partnership. And we all have to keep in mind the same goal. We're in it for kids. And I think sometimes it gets lost with some people where they're more so in it for themselves, but we have to put our egos aside and make sure we're doing the best thing for every kid that we touch.
Absolutely. Now, I get excited about this. I haven't been as in touch with the high school game as I would like, so I'm getting to learn a lot about the state of high school baseball in general. What are some of the things you're hoping to accomplish to improve high school baseball overall here today?
Oh, wow. When we're at this convention, one thing you want to do is come up with the right rules, put the right rules in place to make sure that the kids are getting the best, the best version of not only of ourselves as coaches, umpires, and everybody in particular. You also want to make sure that you walk through this clinic, and you have to take advantage of all the coaches that you're hearing speak. Right? You can implement parts of their speeches and parts of things that they do in their programs, implement them into your program. You don't have to do exactly what they're saying, but little pieces here and there, they're always helpful. And, I always have advice for younger coaches that come through here. Network, ask questions, meet people. Don't be afraid to go up to someone and ask questions, because that person can be someone you can rely on in the future.
Absolutely, and I want to. This gives me the opportunity to ask you some more questions.
Yeah.
Some of the things you've learned along the way, you've implemented into your practices, your culture. What are some things that you've really seen make a big impact on your teams and your players and your personal connections?
The biggest thing you have to do is development.
Yes.
Right? You have to develop kids. It's easy to write a lineup and put 9 guys out there and play, but instead of developing the entire roster, you want to develop your entire roster, starting with your JV programs on the way up, because you never know when you have to depend on those guys. Also, one of the biggest thing I've learned in coaching is relationships. It starts with relationships, because in order, I talked about development, but in order for that development to happen, these kids have to trust you. So you have to build relationships. So my biggest thing at my school is I build relationships with kids on and off of the field. That way they're going to trust what I'm doing on a daily basis.
Now, this is something that I find fun to kind of, I guess, think about, study, and you've been doing it for a long time, so I think you're a great person to ask. And I think of like some of the greatest coaches and the people that impacted my life the most, and I think these are always changing, and not every kid needs the same, but typically they were the hardest on me. And I really gravitated and enjoyed and appreciated how far they pushed me. And I'm sure it's not easy to be hard on a kid, but it was out of love. It was tough love to make me a better person. What is kind of that balance today of being a coach that's trying to improve them as a kid, that's also trying to teach them life lessons that's going to make them grow, versus also just being this pleaser, pleasing the kids? The
reason I coach is because of the coaches I had, right, and the impact they made on my life. I started with my high school coach, my college coach, coaches I had in the minor leagues, and I had a manager in the major leagues, Tom Kelly, who had a huge, with the Minnesota Twins, had a big impact on my life. So for us, we had to continue to impact these kids, man. That is such importance, making sure, because you never know. Yeah, you got to be hard on them. In times of adversity, you find out who people truly are. And so we have adversity in high school baseball, and things aren't always smooth, but you find out the character of the kids, and you have to groom that stuff. I enjoy it every day, man. I've been here for 2 days, and I miss my workouts with my kids. I wear my other coaches out, like, how did it go, this or that. But, you have to be tough on them, because life is not easy, and you want to see how they respond. And you're going to be there to help them respond. That way, when they're 24, 25 years old, boom, I've had challenges. I can get through this.
Do me a huge favor, by the way. I'm the tech man on the fly. Take your microphone and bend it a little bit closer to your face. If it'll bend, it's a little flexible there. There you go. I said I'd take care of it, and I messed up, so I just want to make sure I did it. Jason Maxwell, I love connecting with you, too, about younger baseball at the USA level. Look, I can look at 16U bronze and 16 helping to manage the 18U team this last year. So draft guys, I mean, you're around those draft guys. But, heck, when we're talking about draft guys, that 2018 15U team, that gold medal team, that was your team. And Hunter and I were going over the roster now, from Carson Bowen, who's an All-American in the making at TCU, all the way down to Andrew Painter, who may be knocking on the door of the big leagues when he's healthy. What was that year like, that experience, that 15U team to win gold with them?
Well, you know what's funny is people see that team, they don't realize that majority of the guys from that team I had the year before in the developmental program. So I talked about relationships. We started building relationships the year prior, and then a lot of the guys came on it in 2018. But it is unbelievable to see the talent that they have at that age. Right? I coach high school baseball, and I've said every day. Then you go coach the USA team. That's another version, another step of the talent. And these guys are amazing. You see a Brady House at 15 years old, and you're going to. First of all, he's 6'3", 6'4", and he can pitch and hit. You see a Cody Schreier, who's starting shortstop for UCLA. You see a Carson Bowen, Andrew Painter pitched a gold medal game. People are asking me, "Oh my gosh, you had him all along?" And he's 6'6", and he's just dominating. I have the opportunity to probably a team that could maybe have been just as good as that team was my 2021 team, the 18U team. We didn't get to compete for a gold medal, but we were able to play a series versus Canada, and that's a team with Jackson Holliday, Elijah Green, Tamar Johnson, Drew Jones.
We've heard of them.
We've
heard of all those guys.
That I always say, we talk about it all the time. That was probably one of the best teams that never got to show. But it was an amazing group. And then obviously this past summer I had Anthony Volpe in 2016, who I have a great relationship with today. You know, he won a Gold Glove as a rookie with the Yankees this year, and he's, those relationships, it's a big deal.
You were developmental coach of the year, by the way, that year. You couldn't go play.
I was able to be. I sound like I'm
develop.
I'm sound like I'm bragging. I'm fortunate enough to be the developmental coach 2 times, in 2018 and 21, and it just goes to show that the impact you make on kids makes a difference in their lives.
I don't think it's bragging. How many World Series did you win?
I don't know, but I want to ask about
See, he was going to answer. I was going to say it's not bragging. It's just what you guys both have accomplished.
Yeah, two. So,
just 2.
But I do want to. I mean, that's like not even an individual thing. You got to be a part of a great team. There was also 12 years that I did not win the World Series.
Absolutely.
And all of those years shaped me and made me better just as much as the 2 that we won. Obviously, those were my favorite, but let's get into development because I live for development.
Absolutely.
This was one of my favorite things on the journey of life. This is one of the reasons I love this show and talking to everyone is learning what are some of the greatest keys to developing different players, different tools, and is it consistent with every player, the same type of development?
It is not consistent, but I think consistency is the key.
Yes.
Right? So there's a little change right there. But you have to be consistent in your approach, number one. But consistency, doing it daily, and implementing that. And also you got to remember you have a staff. All right, so it's just not me developing, it's your entire staff. And so you got to make sure you have the right staff and guys who love it just as much as you. That way they're pouring into the kids. Pouring into the kids is the biggest thing. Whether we're, it starts playing with stretching with us. I want everything to be perfect in what we do. And the sooner they learn that, the better your program will be, and then the better your culture will be because everybody buys into it. In Tennessee, we can't play games in the fall. We can only play games in the spring. So guys who aren't playing football or basketball or hockey, whatever sports, you have all those guys out there working out. So there's a buy-in immediately in the fall in the weight room. So you have to have that buy-in. So you're developing there. And then we start getting into a part of the year where we're going to our skill development. So we're working on infield strategies. We're working on outfield. We're working on catching, obviously hitting. Right, you go on social media, you look up, put in how to hit a baseball. There's going to be 2 million ways to hit a baseball. All right, the way that we teach it, see the ball, hit the dang ball, let's go to work. All right, we try to be simple. All right, so simple is easy for us.
That's beautiful. Now, dive a little bit more. See the ball and hit the ball. What are some training mechanics you use to develop the skill of hitting? That's how I played most of my career was see the ball, hit the ball, until like the biomechanics, and I went and relearned a lot about that, which was, I'm glad I played most of my career free, but there was a whole new world that it's the same thing through and through, short to the ball, long through. How long can you be in the zone? You hear it from like every great big league hitter. They're going to say something similar, and they do it all in infinite different ways. But what are some of your skills developments for skill hitting?
So one of the things that I've been very reluctant about is all the analytical stuff. I've been, I don't know. And we invested in TrackMan.
Yeah.
All right. So for us, the kids are all about their exit velos, boom, their strengths. Okay, we're using that TrackMan system or any type of analytical, where are their weaknesses? And so we apply their weaknesses in there. So I'm seeing their weaknesses, so whether they're hitting off the tee, whether they're soft toss, whether they're hitting breaking balls off the machine, whatever that is, we're implementing those things in there daily for our kids.
I love it. I had this conversation in spring training, and there was this player, and he was like, I can't hit the off speed. I got to get a fastball. I said, well, why would you ever tell yourself you can't hit the off speed? I was like, if I was bad at hitting a slider, so every single day I set up the slider machine, slider away, black or off. And I'm going to sit here until I figure out how to hit it.
Absolutely.
Do a little bit every day. And I remember Adam Wainwright came up and talked to me. He's like, man, I used to just throw you sliders away and you were an easy out. And then all of a sudden you started peppering me. And I was like, well, what do you think? I'm going to sit there and just get out to it all the time?
Absolutely. And I was not a great breaking ball hitter myself, but I trained myself, to see the ball and hit the ball the other way, right?
Yeah.
And so little things. For us, we even have a drill that we work on is where they're not swinging. They're just taking pitches. I swing, like, boom, yes, yes, yes. And it's just taking. And you're learning how to I'm going to swing this pitch. All of a sudden, you get into a game situation, live pitcher. Okay, I've seen that pitch, that zone where the ball is coming, and I take the pitch. So, we work on the mental side of it as well. That's a big key to it.
You balled in 97 and 98. I did a little baseball reference research. You balled a little bit. By the way, more than almost 1,100 games in the minor leagues. I mean, you had your time in the majors with the Cubs and the Twins. That's a 360 career on base. That's pretty darn impressive.
Yeah, that didn't matter back then, though. It matters today, right?
Yeah. Back when you were getting on base, it was like,
you got on base all the time.
Getting on base.
Yeah. Now,
so speaking of players that can get things done, like you did throughout your journey as a player, what's the very latest on Connor Cobb?
Yeah.
I can remember meeting his dad, Anthony, at an event. I think it's Anthony.
Mm-hmm, that's his dad.
And playing for Team Elite. But when I knew you were coming on, there was a few of your guys, and he was top of my list. Tell us about him.
Connor is an unbelievable kid. He was committed to Vanderbilt, and no longer is, obviously. So he's going through the process. I tell Connor, he's a shortstop. He's a pitcher. He's about as athletic as it can get. 40-inch vertical leap. He's got all that. So we're trying to find a home. He has a couple visits lined up the next 2 weeks. I won't say where, but he's starting to get a lot of interest professionally. I actually had a phone call 30 minutes ago about Connor from a major league team. So he's a great kid, first of all. But he's also a great athlete, great baseball player, and just loves the game. So somebody's going to get a very good kid coming down the road here pretty soon.
I want to get completely off the freeway because you brought something up. I'm trying to learn to listen like him. So I want to follow down this road of that phone call you got. I don't want to know who it is, like I said. But how much does it mean to you, and how hard do you have to work to have the trust of major league organizations? They can call you, trust your word, that you'll give them the truth. I mean, obviously you're there to advocate for the athlete, but that's got to be hard to earn that trust, and you've got to be proud to get those calls.
You know what? It is something that I'm very prideful about, to have guys reach out to me about my Innsworth kids, but also about all these USA kids. Obviously, that those kids are going to get way more attention, and so I do receive a lot of phone calls. And for guys to value my opinion, and a lot of times it applies. Draft time, I get a lot of calls on draft day about certain kids. That means the world. I guess I've done something right out there. But I always try to do right because I know when these guys are investing in kids, whether it's collegiately or at the major league level, this is their jobs as well. So I want to make sure I'm always truthful with them. So if you call me, you're going to get the truth about a kid, whether you want to hear that or not. I'm going to give you my true feelings on that kid.
Oh, well, they're lucky to have that, right? They're lucky to have someone being an advocate. There's one more player that I want to let Hunter dive back in. And his name's Spencer Yu. He's a George Washington commit. He's, I think, on Jamie Crane's Team Elite team as well. So as he plays for you as a high school player, kind of for all our viewers, who is he as an athlete?
Well, I'll tell you, his brother is a catcher for Duke, Andrew Yu. So that's his older brother. And Spencer's been in my school forever. I call him Hackman because he's a very good hitter. And he's going to be a kid that can play second base or second or third base or any outfield position. Gritty kid, but really swings the bat really well. And on top of that, he's going to do it consistently day in and day out. And that comes from, being around an older brother with that type of work ethic. So strong work ethic, great kid, and he's going to be a heck of a baseball player.
All right, Jason, it's time for me to circle back to personal connections.
Yes.
We're going to get off the serious development and all the fun talk. I want to hear who's the funniest player you've ever coached and what's one of the funniest situations you've ever had amongst your teams, pranks or whatever it may be. There's got to be a couple in there.
God, this is going to be bad, and he's probably going to be in the big leagues this year.
Oh, I love it. You got to have it.
If this story it's going to get out, so let me just say, Andrew Painter.
All right.
Andrew Painter is 2018 USA team. He is the funniest guy you've ever seen. So the night before the gold medal game, he's pitching the next day. We do room check. And Adam Mosley, who's the head coach at Hoover High School, he was our pitching coach. And we go up, check rooms, and we can't find Andrew Painter. And we open the closet. Andrew Painter, you ever seen the movie Elf? Buddy the Elf?
Yeah.
Andrew Painter is sitting up in the top of the closet like Buddy the Elf. And we're going, eating a snow cone. Okay, that's a whole nother story. And how in the world is this guy going to pitch today? Pitch tomorrow. I was like, oh, gosh, Painter's a mess. And he came out and threw 5 innings of unreal baseball.
Was he just messing with you guys? Was that
no.
Oh, he was just getting ready.
That's Andrew.
That's amazing.
You guys have to get to know Andrew Painter, and I'm sure people as he gets in the big leagues, and you're going to see that personality come out. Yep.
Wow.
So that's Painter.
I love that.
Tamar Johnson is pretty funny.
He's a good interview too.
Yeah, he's an amazing interview. Yeah, he's really funny as well. But Andrew's got it.
Beautiful.
Yeah, it's interesting. I know Tamar went up and did some working out up at, I believe it was George Washington. He was up north, maybe Georgetown.
Georgetown,
He went out and worked out at Georgetown, which kind of brings me to circle around the ABCA Diversity in Baseball Committee.
Yes.
And, with Coach Thompson there and Tamar's brother there, obviously helping out. Coach Beamer, and then obviously, we talked to Carrick Jackson yesterday. Carrick had optimism. It was, I would say, optimism because he had his hands in the sand working, in the dirt working, like I know you are too. Are you optimistic about the growth of seeing more black coaches at the Division I level? I mean, I know that number is nowhere where it should be, but as we sit here today having this conversation, what are your thoughts?
I tell you, you hit my soft spot right here. That is something that I am very, very much so into, if that makes sense. And I'm walking around the last 2 days. I've been coming to this convention for years, and I'm starting to see more and more black coaches here at the convention, which tells me the optimism is growing and growing and growing.
Good.
Carrick just broke a barrier. He's the first black coach in the SEC. That is huge for us as a race. And so he broke that barrier, and so we flagged that. Then I'm able to be on this committee, right? So Carrick and I, we've broken those barriers, be on the ABCA executive committees. So that's big, and other people look at us, and we can be those guys someday. And I see all these coaches. I can be a Carrick Jackson one day, and I think that's a really big deal. I was fortunate to see a younger player, a younger coach yesterday, who just approached me and told me I never met him before and told me everything that I meant to him. And I had no idea. And that means the world, the impact that we're having not only on players, but also on coaches. And, we have a diversity meeting tomorrow morning. And I think
What are you talking about? What are you going to talk about?
Carrick's running it, so I don't want to give out his beans. But
he's a guest. He's a friend.
But I think more so.
What do you hope you talk about?
I hope we talk about getting more of us involved. And there is a place for us in this game of baseball, and that we have a voice in the game of baseball, and we can make a difference in the game of baseball.
That's exciting because what follows are more African-American young men that are gaining more comfort and passion for the sport too, and maybe not choosing football or basketball or another sport, maybe choosing baseball and the growth there, clubhouses he was in, I was in with my dad.
Right.
That was never a hard discussion because the progressive nature of the game at that level was there. The best players played. That was
Absolutely.
That was that. Him and then my father's generation. I'm excited you talked to us about that.
And what you see, you talk about players growing. I look at that 2021 team, the USA team that I had with Tamar and Drew, Jaden Hilton, who's at Stetson College, Drew John, and Elijah Green, and R.J. Austin, who's at Vanderbilt.
Yeah.
And I could not tell you how many young kids told me, Coach, I want to be like tomorrow. I want to be like Elijah. Those guys were superheroes for the African American community. And I tell them all the time. We have a group text. I tell those guys, you guys have to keep what you're doing because so many people look up to you. Some of these kids want to be you. You know, I look up to Michael Jordan. These guys are looking up to these young high school kids, and it is amazing to see.
Yeah, that's where social media is a positive. It's
Absolutely.
not always a positive,
Yes,
but that's
sir.
where the positive. Thank you very much, Jason. We really appreciate it.
Thank you guys for having me. It's an honor and blast. And Hunter, it's a pleasure to meet you. I enjoy watching you play over your career, man.
All right, Jason Maxwell. When we come back, a conversation focusing on a program that's playing in the Pac-12 this year and then the Big Ten in the year after that. It's Andy Stankiewicz. He's the head coach of USC, building what he built at Grand Canyon. He's now going to do it in Los Angeles, California. Where's he playing next year for his home field? That's an entirely different conversation. We continue at the ABCA.
Oh, yeah. Can't wait for this one.
Still Arizona guy. He was home and built what Grand Canyon is. When Andy and I were younger, Grand Canyon was an NAIA power. We were scared of them at the NAIA level. He built it into a team that no one wanted to play at the Division I level. Now, a couple of years into USC. Andy, thanks for hanging out with us. We really appreciate it.
What an honor, man, to be with Hunter and yourself. This is it's the highlight of my day, man. All good. Let's do
we
it.
appreciate
Highlight
you
of ours, too. Stay. We've been looking forward to talking to you.
So I threw it in as my tease, so I'll let it be my lead. You are going to make Dado Field gorgeous. You guys are transforming not just your beautiful ballpark, but all the workout spaces around, all the facilities. You're going what USC does next level. And so with that in mind, you guys are going to journey. You're going to find unique places to play. I think it's going to turn out to be a very good thing for your program and a very positive thing. Explain how you're working out the logistics of having multiple home fields.
That's right. Well, you nailed it. We are going to be a bit of a road warrior, right, for the next 2 years. But the university has been great in trying to figure out ways to accommodate, our student athletes. And it looks like we'll be working out practice-wise at El Camino Junior College, which is not too far away.
Sure.
Then great program there, great young coach, and he's helping us with that. And then Loyola Marymount University, right, has been very gracious and said, hey, we'll give you some Tuesdays here as well. And so we'll be over there for a bit. And then Great Park in Irvine. It's a bit of a commute, but it's a good ballpark. It sits, I think, about 1,500 folks, and it's got a nice little bowl to it, and it's got clubhouse and and got some of those amenities for us and our fans. And so we're kind of going to be USC in Orange County for the next couple of years. And so hoping to kind of turn that into a positive and get a good spin, get some of those Orange County folks to get more involved and supportive and just wanting to be around the program. And then all the while, they're going to be building a beautiful state-of-the-art, like you said, beautiful football practice facility for Coach Riley and his football players, and then a new Dado, which is going to be, I'm excited to look at the plans, and as that starts we start to break ground on that.
Details. Give me some details of the new
Well,
facility.
I can tell you this: they're going to reconfigure the Dado, right?
Okay.
And so where we are at right now, first baseline, clubhouse, dugout is going to be another practice facility for football. They want 2 practice facilities, which I guess probably most big programs do. So basically, we're gonna home plate will now go to left field. And so if you can remember what Dale looks like, so home field will be there, and so right field will be kind of where we're at now, which I think is probably the right configuration anyways, because you had some sun issues at the old Dado where a shortstop would fill the ball on his backhand side and then throw the ball to first base, and there's some sun issues, or even on some pickoff plays from first base or from the pitcher to the first baseman. So I think that the plus there now is you're going to, it's going to be like most ballparks, how most ballparks sit. So it's going to be great. Just we got to be patient, but we'll make it work.
Yeah, it's definitely, always tough when you have to take a step back to take a few forward. I know I think it was my sophomore year in college, we didn't have a home field either for most of the year. So it is very much a challenge, and I was asking you a little bit before, and I'd like to hear like how are the players, like mentally, what's like the prep for that? How are they taking it? Because that's a lot of GPS. Like, oh, we're practicing here today. We're practicing there. I don't even get to put my bag in a locker, really, so to speak. Yeah. You're constantly living in a car. Tell me a little bit about like their ownership of it and what's the game plan.
Yeah, for sure. There's some challenges there, but they are. When we first sat down with administration and they said, hey, this is what we're going to do. We're going to start building this new ballpark in November, so you guys will be out in spring. Had a meeting with the players and just said, hey, man, this is where we're at. This is what we're doing. And basically said, if this is an issue, then leave. And that's the reality. And I got it. I said, hey, it's a 2-year project, and if some of you struggle with this and you feel like it's best for you to leave, then I totally get it. I'll shake your hand and wish you the best. But if you stay, you're going to stay. And once you don't stay and moan and groan and just because we know that's not going to work, right? We know that's just not going to work for anybody. And so, but thus far, it's been fine. Now we haven't been in a bunch of buses yet, right? So it's going to be a challenge for sure, especially as you know, Hunter, when you go through those moments on the ball club where you're not playing real well and everyone's just kind of like there's some friction and then getting on a bus and I got a great coaching staff. They've been around the block. They understand it. They've been great. We challenge ourselves to not complain about a thing, and make sure our players know that we're not complaining about a thing. We just want to play baseball, play really good baseball, and keep the program moving well. And I think our guys are committed to that. And I'm so far I've been really proud of the way they've responded.
Yeah, there's one benefit here is you get to spend more time together because when you're on the road and you're on buses, more time together. So you get to put the phones away, have some baseball talk.
Yeah, well, put the phones away. I don't know about that.
That's impossible these days.
I tried that one time at Grand Canyon. And I mean, to put the phones away when we're going on a road trip, and the guys were screaming, "Coach, this is terrible! I can't believe you're making us." I put decks of cards and a bunch of like sports magazines out, and I made them actually talk to each other.
The ultimate torture.
Yeah. So
we had 6-hour bus rides when I went to the Winter Leagues. This is at the end of my career, and all we had was a pillow. There's no internet service. There's no phones. And it was some of the best times, I think, and it brought me back where I was like, man, I need to get off my phone a little bit more. And we just sat around, talked about the game, talked about what we were prepping for, told stories about life. I find it great. It was really rewarding for me. Granted, I was Grandpapa Pence at that time playing baseball in the Dominican. So let's talk a little bit more about the ABCA, what you've learned throughout the years here, what you're excited about this year, and that growth mindset. I know you are a master at coaching. We've had really wonderful conversations. I've learned a lot from you. But talk a little bit about the ABCA, what it means to you, and what you're excited about.
Well, I think it's probably 9, 10, 11 years straight. I had a year or two where I took off, but I got a chance to do infield play today, and I got a chance to do it with my son, who's assistant coach at UC San Diego. So that was really cool up there on stage with my boy, and he's great. And I threw jabs at him, and he handled like a champ, like I knew he would. And so, and I think a big part of it is learning, right? Coming to the convention and looking at the book and going, ooh, well, that's interesting. I need to get better in this area. I want my program to get better here. And so you go and you sit and you listen and you take notes and and then you go back as a staff and you share in coaches meetings like, hey, what do you think? Does this make any sense? And then sometimes it leads to dialogue, and then sometimes it leads to a phone call to that person who did the presentation. Like, hey, give me some help here. I hear what you're saying, and explain it a little bit more to me, right? And so we're always trying to figure out ways to get better. You see drills that make some sense, and like, hey, this makes sense. Let's try this. We have to turn over every rock. I really believe that as a staff, we've got to figure out a way to help our players get better, and this is a great way to do it. And then networking here is and you get to kind of rub shoulders with guys that you've played with and guys that you've coached prior. And I just ran into Brett Wallace, who I coached at Arizona State. Man, what an absolute treat, right?
Brett Wallace, he was my teammate for a while.
Yeah.
Where's he at? I gotta say hello.
He's here. He's actually going to be with Coach Bloomquist's staff at ASU, so I'm so excited to see him. So you get to kind of just you get excited, you get proud of kind of where you've been and see these younger guys now coaching as well. You feel like maybe you did have a good impact in their lives, right?
You probably did.
It's always encouraging for us old timers.
So I want to talk about your old school for just a second, Grand Canyon, because a couple of players that you recruited who believed in you and who bought into mid-major baseball, Jacob Wilson and Homer Bush, stayed with their program when you moved on. And I love that. I think it's great that they were happy there. Jacob goes first round to Oakland. Homer goes fourth round to San Diego. You were off coaching another program by then. How proud were you of those two men?
Oh, I can't even tell you. I followed them. I followed our program, and then I followed them every game. I just wanted to see how, because I have just ultimate respect for those guys, for Coach Wallace and his staff and what he's put together there. And so, yeah, it was like a proud moment. It was like kind of bittersweet. Like I'd like to be there, be more hands-on. But at the same time, it was like a cool moment for me to kind of just take a step back, and I was like that old proud guy that's just like walking away from the scene, but knowing that, man, that the guys that you brought in, that they did so well and they can be proud of. And I'm the same way. I'm glad they stayed at Grand Canyon. I was like, hey, when I came to SC, I didn't look to bring anybody with me. You guys need to stay at SC. This would be a great thing. And so I'm proud of what they did, and I'm proud of what they did last year. And I'm gonna follow their careers in professional baseball, and then when they get to the big leagues, man, I'm gonna be super excited.
Yeah, I thought about you. I thought about you right away. I mean, following both players, and I was knowing Homer's dad very, very well, and obviously Jacob's dad in a different way. Two former major leaguers, but I thought that was a special day for you. I thought about that. You believed in them at the very beginning, but they believed in your program, which was they probably had choices where sexier names, bigger programs. They believed in you, and so that was a day to celebrate. I haven't seen enough. And you had a whole bunch of freshmen last year that you threw right in the deep end. Boys, you're in, and you shoved them all in. But I want to ask you about Austin Over, because when a man leads the nation in triples with 14 triples in a college season, but gets on base at a 400 clip, doesn't strike out a ton, walks a little bit, who is this ball player?
Well, we got the job, and they told me about this football player, because he was actually with the football team as a wide receiver. Great athlete, could really run. I'm like, okay, no idea, never seen him play. first of all, you call scouts, right? You call people you know in the area. You're like, hey, what do you got in Laverne? He said, oh, man, he can really run raw. It's going to take a while. Showed up after the bowl game last year for USC and then joined us full time. And obviously a terrific athlete. He can do crazy dunks. He can do some stuff that you wouldn't think he could do. But just raw still, and he's still got a ways to go. And I think he'd tell you that. But exciting. Puts the ball in play. His speed tool said it's off. It's really, really good. He's been one of the quickest players and Homer Bush Jr. could scoot, right?
Yeah.
Homer could run. And I'd be kind of curious to see if these two guys in a race, because it would be nip and tuck, man. And both of them could move. Has to learn how to run. Still some bases still, yeah. And he's just a little. So there's still. That's the fun part about it. There's still.
He did have 16 though.
Yeah, but he can be better, and he'd even tell you that, right? He's. I tell you what, those triples though. I coached third, and there was times where I was thinking like, oh no, stop a second, like stop, don't keep coming. And he does not think about stopping at second base. He wanted to have the triples record, and he was not stopping at third. There were times where I was like, oh no, he's going to be out, but I'll be darned, he was safe. He's just.
Did he ever get thrown out at third?
No.
Not even once.
He got thrown out one time
on
a pickoff attempt to first that got down the line.
And he took off.
And he took off the second, and he tried to go to third. It came off the wall at Dato, and a nice kick, and they threw him out at third base. But as far as like a triple, no, I don't think he was ever thrown out. Yeah, but he's fun, great kid, great defender in the outfield. I mean, he really knows how to play center field as well. So he's, for us to be competitive this year, we're going to need him to go. He's going to be a big part of it.
So I got my full slate of Pac-12 Network game broadcasts, and so I won't have you guys. I have a lot of Arizona and ASU. I won't have you guys till the tournament in Scottsdale, right? And so we both bid adieu to the Pac-12 together. USC goes on and moves to the Big Ten. How are those conversations going? What are you most excited about as it pertains to the Big Ten?
Excited about for us, right? The opportunity to showcase our program more in the Midwest. Right? We're and I think most people would recognize USC on the West as like, if you said to most folks that on the West Coast that USC has 12 national titles, they'd be like, oh yeah, I remember Coach Dato, I remember Coach Gillespie, I remember what they did. But in the Midwest, if you said to them, hey, who has the most national titles in Division I baseball, they pretty much not going to say University of Southern California. They're going to say LSU. They're going to say maybe Vanderbilt, right? Those are the teams that have had most success, obviously, most recent. And so I think that's the part for me as a head coach. It's like you have this object you're training and you want to show it off, right? And so I'm excited about as the coach to be able to bring our program to the Michigans, the Michigan States, and all of them, Ohio States, and say, hey man, this is USC. Now, the expectations is grand. We want to present ourselves well, right? I want to bring a great product, a great team to those parts of the country. So I want to kind of show off a little bit. Now that might be careful because you better have a good team, right? But we should have a good team. We're the University of Southern California. We're in Southern California. There's no reason why we shouldn't be able to continue to build our program well. And so I'm excited about taking our guys to the places they most likely never been to, right? And so I'm hopeful they will be as well.
Yeah, it's interesting. Jump in. We have about 3 or 4 more minutes. Go for it.
Yeah, look, I guess I would feel bad if I didn't hit you up on some of your practice regimens, your development regimens, and yeah, we've hit on, you got to travel. But you built an insane program at Grand Canyon on pitching, defense, no extra bases. Talk a little bit about how that process is going, the development process is going now that you've had your hands at USC, and some of the tools that you've seen really change kids' lives.
Well, thank you, Hunter. Yeah, I think from a player development standpoint, most of what I've learned, Hunter, I've trained these kids, what I learned when I was in professional baseball. You think about it, we played college baseball for 4, but when I left college baseball, I played for 16, and then I was a coach for another 5. So most of my player development is professional baseball. It's not really college baseball. And so I've just learned, and I just believe that it's work. It's a lot of one-on-one work, right? It's a lot of like spring training, the early work, right? You think about how many times you were doing early work, whether it was from the outfield stuff or it was infield stuff or your extra hitting in the cages, right? So it's a lot of extra work, and I think that's part of what I'm trying to get across to our guys is there's no magic pill, right? It's called work. It's called
do the work.
It's called consistent. Show up every day and work together and help build this team. And so that's what we're kind of hanging our hat on, is just showing up every day and being excited about playing baseball, and being together and doing it together, and working hard and great energy and all those things you were as a player. I mean, it's just it's who you were, and it's why you had such a great career. You're obviously very skilled, but your intangibles was your mentality, right? And so that's what we've got to try to preach to our guys, is the difference makers are going to be, are we going to work harder than the team or the program, or do we want it more than them, right? It's just, these are, because at the end of the day, we're all almost the same. I mean, we've all got nice players. Everybody throws 88 to 94, right? And remember, some guys sink it, some guys four-seam it, and it's that we all have a really similar-looking roster, but what's going to make a difference?
And what is that?
It's about mentality. It's about showing up every day. It's about wanting to play together, being excited about it's about being unselfish. It's about culture. The more I've learned in my time, obviously we want to have very skilled players, and we're always recruiting skilled players. But at the end of the day, it's those marginal players. How are we going to make a difference in the margin where everything's the same? Every program has the same kind of look. How are we going to make a difference? And for me and my background and my history, I think it's about culture. It's about bringing a program together, the guys that want to play together. And that's not easy. It's a lot of moving parts, 40 players, and we can't babysit them. Right? We're trying as best we can to get them in the right spot, but they're 18, 19, 20-year-old young men. Sometimes they're kind of goofy, but we try to get them. We try to get them right.
Thank you, my friend.
Always.
Best of luck. I'm coming to see you play at Great Park.
Please.
USC and the OC, baby.
Come on.
That's a great complex.
Bring it, man. We got the wine garden over there. You know that. Come on.
Darren likes the
Giving me
wine garden.
more reasons to go.
Yeah, absolutely.
I like the
My
wine
mom
garden.
lives in Corona Del Mar. Hunter's not too far from Great Park when he visits that part of his world.
Is
It's beautiful out there.
It is.
Thank
I'm
you,
in
man.
Newport.
We
Thanks a
really
lot.
appreciate
Thanks,
it.
guys.
All right, Stanko, good to see you.
Thanks, guys. Thank
Andy
you.
Stankiewicz, USC, excited to see what is next for them. And what is next for us is a very unique conversation. We're going to bring an alum in, but it's not just any alum. It's Bobby Witt Jr., who was going to stop by, along with his dad, senior, we'll call him. A couple of first-round picks joining us on stage here at ABCA. Oh, we remember this recently from last year, but we knew him when he was a kid, figuring out his place in travel ball at PG events. Ought to be a lot of fun when we come back on Perfect Game TV.
Oh, yeah. Can't wait for this one.
ABCA, and of course here at the Gaylord, Grapevine, Texas. It's been fun to understand what's next for the game and learning about the future of the game. But we pull that all together right now because this is fun for us at Perfect Game. We were around watching, and we were just the platform, let's be honest. not doing the teaching to the man a couple of chairs over. But senior joins us, Bobby Witt, and then Bobby Witt Jr., an alum of Perfect Game. I think we'd call him a bit of a friend of the family because of how good he was to us. We cheer for you all the time. Thanks for hanging out with us.
Yes, sir. Thank you for having me.
We really appreciate it. And thanks for coming with.
You bet.
A pair of first-round picks together. It has to be fun for you to turn him loose. And I watched you when you coached him at our events when he was 15 and 16 years old. You did the same. You did turn him loose. There were the values that once he came within the walls of your home that were obvious in the way he handled himself. How much fun now is this next phase? I'm a parent. I have children 21 to 26, right in that same window. How much fun has it been to you to turn him loose as a man and watch him grow?
It's been a lot of fun. From when he got called up a couple of years ago, being able to see him do that, and then he went through some struggles, to be able to figure out what he was doing, being able to overcome those things and then really get going. And then last year, the second half of the year, really, I start to see the player who I think we all thought he was going to be.
Bobby, do you still, and you have so much going on now, your ascension is incredible, but do you still recall being that travel ball kid? There's a lot of travel ball coaches out there. Do you still recall with fondness maybe that summer heading into your senior year? And if so, what do you recall about it?
Oh, yeah, definitely. Just always being on the road. I think going into my senior year of high school, I slept in my own bed for 4 or 5 nights. So it was a lot of times traveling around, whether in Georgia or all the events that we went to, and we had a blast. And so those memories last a lifetime. And then now being able to play against some of those guys in the big leagues, it's special seeing Corbin Carroll, C.J. Abrams, Riley Green, those guys that played in the PG All-American game, and then now in the big leagues together, and the list can go on and on. So it's been pretty special just to kind of carry that and keep it rolling.
It really is spectacular, I think, the way youth baseball is now, where the greatest 200 players play each other a lot and kind of sharpen each other as they come up. So all of those kids that you just mentioned, you were playing against as you grew up, they all are having somewhat successful big league careers. It took some of them a little bit more time. Abrams really popped off this year. It was fun to watch his at-bats change. But how much, Bobby, you mentioned, everyone's going to hit a hurdle, the big league level. You kind of had a little bit, too. You had a great big league career, but a little bit of command issues. You threw hard, and then you became this insanely good pitcher for a while, developing and learning. How much did you get to lean on your dad for those moments of overcoming kind of the mental hurdles that come at the big league level?
I think that, there was things that I could help him with, as far as the struggles and things like that he knew it wasn't going to be the end of the day. I mean, tomorrow the sun was going to come up and all that, and I think those were important because this game is difficult, and especially once you get to that level. But he did a really good job on preparing himself, going out there and just working and trying to get through those things.
Yeah, and I'd say for me, too, it's just really just being prepared because I feel like at the beginning of my career, I'm supposed to be this big prospect or whatever and come in to the Royals organization, then get called up and then struggle my first couple months and then have some success here and there and then come around year 2 and I'm like, all right, got to do it again, got to be better, got to be even whatever, change this organization around. And then things didn't go great at the beginning of the year, and then so just really whenever it just settled in, and like he said, the preparation is the biggest thing. If you could prepare to be the best and just show up to the field each and every day with an open mind and just be ready. And just, I think that was the biggest thing for me, and just knowing that doing what Bobby Witt Jr. does is enough for the game.
Yeah, and I imagine that is a heavy weight, having a dad that was a big leaguer and trying to live in those shoes. It's a gift because there's a lot of stuff that you learn from it, but it is a weight. I guess I wanted to jump back a little bit to how much did Perfect Game, we're here with Perfect Game, and facing against that many players that did well really give you confidence in the background? And then secondly, I know this is a two-part question, which isn't the greatest, but I'm excited about this because what did change when you started having a little more success? Like you started to feel that confidence and the shift. Did you just buy into the preparation? Was there any one thing in particular or a aha moment?
Yeah, so just I think the biggest thing for what kind of Perfect Game provided for me was just everyone's eyes were on you, all the scouts, all the people in the stands, everyone. So it was one of those moments where you kind of, that pressurized moment, you get it at a young age, and I think that's awesome. I think that truly helped me because I remember at those times whenever you look up in the stands and there's 150 scouts, you're like, all right, this is pretty cool. And then trying to be able to perform at that level, and then now playing in front of 40,000 fans, I think that kind of gave me some help. It was almost like a little cheat sheet beforehand before getting to the big leagues. But yeah, And so I don't remember really the second question.
The second question was the moment where, you were going through a little bit of tough times and you were battling. Yeah. That's why you shouldn't ask two questions at once. I'm too excited. I apologize. But was there like an aha moment, like where it started to shift, things started going well? Was it like it started going well and then you trusted it, or was there like an adjustment, or it just kind of like subconsciously clicked and there wasn't any big
Yeah,
moment?
I think biggest thing for me was just really just taking things one pitch at a time. If you could kind of figure that out in a way. And so I think early in my career is like focusing, what's going to happen tomorrow? What's this and that? Or if you have a good game, how can I do it again? How can I have a better game? Rather than just going to the field each and every day, just prepare yourself, have your routine, and just know that you just take it one pitch at a time. Because as an infielder, I think you get maybe 300 to 400 plays a year, and there's 20,000 pitches. So how can you get focused for that one pitch? And something goes wrong, how can you flush it? And so just really focusing in on each and every pitch and just take that day in and day out and 160 games plus later and then just see how it goes.
And I want to pass to Darren, but you just sparked a trigger in my mind. And Bobby, I'm not sure about pitching, but this was something that riddled me in hitting for a long time. I would let's say I hit a home run off a certain pitcher. And like maybe I'm scuffling. I was a tinker. I was always working. And they would joke that they had to retrain Hunter how to hit every day. I just I wanted to hit a lot. And I would hit a home run. And I'd be like, what was I doing? Where were my hands? And now all of a sudden, instead of this competing with the pitcher, I would get there. And you're talking about flushing it to sometimes having success can get you into a bad shape. So I love that you brought up the one moment. So then now I'll pass it to Darren. That was just you sparked this aha moment. Was there anything like that in pitching where you threw the perfect pitch and you tried to replicate it, or?
It always came down to this, Hunter, was that you would throw that perfect pitch and then your mind was like, I have a better one.
Yeah.
You don't.
And then it gets worse.
You just threw an ace. So try to throw that ace and repeat it. And I think that's the biggest thing, is just trying to repeat it over and over again. But I wasn't the smartest tool out there, and I was like, okay, I got this pitch, I got a better one, let's see what we can do.
The story time I want to open up for you, because we could talk to him all day long. Story time. He's a young kid, has a big bat in the living room, and is swinging the big bat around. Tell us what happened, story time, please, Dad.
The bat was a little bit too big for him, obviously.
Yeah, big leaguer. You had some equipment at home like my dad did. Anyway, go ahead.
And he just liked swinging whatever he could pick up. And this was, it was probably, 31, 34, something like that. And he was swinging it, and it actually swung him a little bit, and he ended up letting it go and went through the sheetrock in the wall. So we kept that there for a while.
Still
we
there.
didn't
to
do
this
anything.
day, there's still a little.
Yeah, we didn't really want to do anything to it because it was his hole and he did it like that. My wife was like, yeah, just leave it. We're not worried about that stuff. So.
Love that.
I like that. I have a dent in my refrigerator for my kid. I want to get it fixed.
I
so
shoved the closet in front of that hole. I had a brother, so.
Other story time, and this was one of my favorites. I knew it back when he was playing at PG events. But the story of the loss against, I believe it was Amarillo High School, semifinals, bus ride sucks when it's over. But then you and your teammate, Mr. Greer, are cleaning the bus. You're going to be the first-round pick. We all knew it. When you think back at that story, and what did you know about it? I want his perspective on it, but as a dad, when that story goes public, what does that mean to you?
Well, you try to do your best you can as a parent, right? And you just try to make sure that you're around and do the things that hopefully are going to mold him to be able to go out there and handle life, handle what's next for him. And I think that all came from my dad. My dad was a firefighter, Marine, worked 2 jobs, and I just think that I took that and tried to. I wasn't a forced issue. He just, he was, believe it or not, he was a pretty good kid growing up. So, but he just took that on his own. It wasn't something that we had to really tell him, and it was just something that I think that he respects everybody, and he knows that every day is a good day that he's here, and puts his pants on like everybody else when he wakes up in the morning, and takes that to heart. So I think that's something that him and Mason decided to do after that, was I surprised? Not really, but it's one of those stories that really make you say, maybe I'm doing things right now.
Bobby, what happened that day?
Yeah, it was a tough loss.
Terrible, right?
Yeah. I don't know how long the bus trip was back, or 3 hours or so, and we were just kind of in the back of the bus, and that's something that our high school coach kind of almost instilled to us, parents instilled to us. Just we would always see him picking up trash and stuff, and we lost the game. We could leave the bus, trash, whatever, but I felt like that's kind of our responsibility. We were that next wave. We were going to be the seniors, kind of the captains, I guess, the next year, and so just kind of trying to take responsibility for, I feel like, in ways that both of us were like, what could we have done better to win that game? But then in the end, it was like, all right, what can we do better to just kind of help ourselves, help our teammates, help the bus driver? And so it's kind of one of those things that just happened.
What do you want out of life? I heard on a recent podcast, a faith-based podcast, a gentleman asked a graduating class of seniors, 87 of them, that question. And we are all trained, especially in Western culture, to talk about what we do. What do we do? You're here because of what you do. We're here doing our jobs. But that's a little bit of a deeper question. So I ask you, and it's not an easy one to answer, what do you want out of life?
Just to kind of not be remembered as, like, I guess, the baseball player, but just be remembered as the best teammate I can possibly be, the best person I could possibly be, because you always can look back at baseball cards and look at what your stats are or whatever are, but it's one of those things where if you know that they're a good teammate or something, then I feel like that sticks forever. And so I feel like it goes more than just a teammate, just trying to be the best now fiance, best son, best brother, whatever I could possibly be. So just trying to do those and try to be remembered as that rather than just the guy who plays baseball.
Do you think about baseball all the time?
A lot, yeah.
Because that was your rep as a kid, was you chased games. I mean, you helped it happen. But that's great that you played at PG and we're PG. But let's be honest, you played wherever you could play. I mean, you wanted to play baseball. Are you at this time of year, at some point during these months you've had off, and hopefully you're playing in October soon, are you able to disconnect your mind just a little from baseball?
Yeah, definitely. And I think that's a huge thing right after the season, whether it's that or take a couple months off, just trying to reload, refocus, and that type of stuff, and really been working on the mental side of the game, the mental performance, because during the season I did it, but I never really looked at it as, like, in the off season you're training to get stronger, you're training baseball to get better, but how are you going to train your mind? And so that's something that I've kind of been doing more so, and that's really kind of got me away from baseball, and just haven't read a book probably since high school, but this off season I've read 2 or 3 books, so it's something changing up a little bit. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but yeah, just trying to sharpen the mind, because I feel like that's another huge thing with baseball. And like we were talking about earlier, just with the ups and downs of the game, if you can be the same guy each and every day, I think that's the biggest thing. And just being able to have that routine and know what you got to do and be the best prepared. Because if you're prepared for the game each and every night, and then you just go out there and let your talent take over. And so that's kind of where I feel like that second half of the season this year kind of helped me and just gave me confidence to know what type of big leaguer I can be.
Bobby, I think that's a really good thing, and that was something that happened with me on my baseball journey. You get there, and there's only so much time and so much physical energy, but the skill and focus of the mind, it's just like if you go to the weight room, if you want to get sharper at visualizing or you want to get sharper at confidence, it's like you don't just go and, like, I can only lift 250. I got to lift 250 to get to 260, to get to 270. So what were the 3 books that you read? And I think that is, to me, when you get to the highest, it's the mental that separates you, because we all have the same amount of time in the day. We all have the same drills. The information is out there. So what are the 3 books you read? And I love this path that you're on.
The one is Practice of Groundness. I don't remember what the authors are, but and then do your something about a gym and mind. I can't remember the names of the books. Mind?
Yeah. Mind Gym?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, it was
something
like a Michael
like
Jordan one.
Yeah.
I think I read that
one. And then the last one was the one Brian Cain wrote. So that's kind of his little, not autobiography, but just something he did. So, yeah.
Awesome. Now, Bobby Sr., I got to tell you, I grew up in Arlington. You played for the Rangers. I was a big fan. And I have this small story that was like my memory of you as a kid. And, like, we watched a lot of your games, and you were outstanding pitcher. But I didn't get to go to many games. I was usually at home playing, and they would just be on the TV. And someone brought me back because they knew I loved baseball as a kid. It was intrinsic within me. A Bobby Witt signed baseball. And I had this baseball for forever, and I loved it. But one day we ran out of baseballs. And we started hitting with our Bobby Witt. And I remember we got it all dirty and muddy and nasty, but we needed to practice. And I'll always remember that. I'm like, man, I lost that Bobby Witt signed baseball. But I got a lot of practice with it. So anyway, I know it's just a random story to you, but I just wanted to let you know that I really enjoyed watching your career. And I wanted to ask a little bit about your one inning in the World Series that you won. What was that like? What was the experience like being a World Series champion? And I know you had some injuries that year, but still.
It was awesome. I think that, this year I was really excited for the Rangers, to be honest with you, Hunter. I had that opportunity with the Diamondbacks, but to see them be able to finally get to the point where everybody was hoping they would get to someday was fantastic. But pitching in the World Series, there was nothing like that. It was my last inning I ever threw, the last hitter I ever faced. I punched out. So, good way to go out. Physically, my body was done. I got everything I could out of it, and I knew it was time to move on. But it was something that I'll never forget.
That's awesome. And now, with regards to the Rangers, how involved were you with them this year? And did you get to work with my guy Boch at all? Did you get to?
No, I've actually never met him. I just know about he's legendary. He's incredible. And when they made the hire, I actually told some people that I knew that I said I think they're gonna. This kind of puts it all together, And it really did come quick. And it was like I say, it was fantastic. I really don't do anything with the Rangers. I go out and every now and then do some signings or something like that, something small, But yeah, I think anybody that's ever put on that uniform was really excited and happy this year.
Very cool. So you do signings, though?
I've gone out there.
But can you sign this for Hunter so we can replace that baseball, please?
I need it. Bobby, I got to ask you as well, because you mentioned, the body gave out.
Yeah.
Same happened to me, and that was always my mental. It's weird. It's almost like you prophesy these things. I was like, I'm going to play till they rip the jersey off me or my body falls apart. What's your goal to root? Because you look healthy and stuff. How do you keep up with your body after playing?
Well, I just try to get in there. I've had some things going on health-wise, but overall I'm doing pretty good. But, just try to work out a little bit and, try to watch what you do as far as the diet, and all those type of things. But I had the same thing. I played with Nolan. I was fortunate enough to play with Nolan for 4 years in Goose Gossage. And I asked both of those guys the same question. I said, how do you know when are you going to retire? Or when is the end? And they said the exact same thing you just said, Hunter. They said we're going to play until they take the uniform off. And that's the way Nolan went out. He ended up blowing out, and Goose ended up. I think we had the strike, and that kind of took him away from playing. But I ended up having. I think I'm on 13 surgeries post career. So it's part of it. But I wouldn't trade it for anything.
Yeah,
we need you to sign that, though. I'm very concerned that he didn't have his ball. While Dad signs, we're a Reds house. We're Dodgers and a Reds house, so that's our team, right? And we love Ellie De La Cruz. I know, I understand. I respect your Giants and all you've done for them. We love Ellie De La Cruz, right? So I bring in my daughter, who's a, and thank you. This is good. Now, don't play with that, Hunter. Please don't play with that. We love him. But I brought my daughter in, had her look at Baseball Savant the other day, sprint speed. And it was so much fun to see Ellie right there at the top, tied with you. How much speed training throughout your life have you done? How proud are you to be on that list?
Yeah, that's
fastest
special.
in the game.
Yeah, I think it just kind of, growing up, I never really did any speed training. It was more so just playing every sport I possibly could, whether it was 7-on-7, basketball, track, football, like everything. So it was just one of those things, was try to be as athletic as possible, because I know I didn't get the speed from him.
Wow, shots fired.
I've seen videos of him running around
power.
the bases.
He's got explosiveness.
But yeah, just trying to be as athletic as possible, and then just kind of now just learning how to run, and then creating how to steal bases, how to be that first step explosiveness, and just trying to just kind of use the gifts that God given me, and so just be able to just run.
You almost had 50 bags last year.
Yeah, it's
almost
tough.
had 50 bags. Here's my final question for you. My last question is simple, and I used to ask guys that came before you, what advice would you have for all those dudes that are 25s, that are heading into this big high school summer where maybe they're ranked 1 or 2, maybe they're ranked 700th. What advice would you have for the athletes that want to grow like you?
Definitely say just enjoy it, because that moment goes by quick, and just you're 1 second you're in high school enjoying it, next moment you could be drafted and you're thrown into pro ball, and next minute you're in the big leagues, and just enjoy every moment, because those are your best friends. Those are the guys I keep up with from high school baseball and everything, just growing up, and just don't take anything for granted, and then this game will always be playing after you're done. So don't think the game owes you anything, because once I get done playing, once everyone gets done playing, it's going to keep going on, and this game's been going around for a long time. So don't think the game owes you anything, and just go out there, enjoy it, have fun, and just work hard.
I want to make something very clear. You have no idea. Obviously in Kansas City, you have no idea how many people are pulling for you, and it's not because we're front runners. It's how you treated all of us. And so always remember your legacy around us. So that's to you, Dad. Congratulations to that.
Thank you.
And by the way, you can make fun of his speed all you want, but when he homered against Ismael Valdez, all he had to do was talk. All he had to,
He's got one in the books.
There was a while where he had one more home run than you.
Oh, I heard about it every day. Oh, yeah. So once I hit that second one first I call.
He got the belt.
He's only 49 ahead of you.
Yeah, that's
Dad,
it.
if you need any tips, give me a call.
Happy New Year to you guys.
Thank you.
This
Thanks
is
for
a real
having
treat
us.
for Hunter and I. We
Appreciate
really appreciate it.
You guys do a great job. Thank you.
All right. Fun. That was fun, wasn't it? When we come back, we're going to go back out to a school that's going to make that same kind of change. We were able to talk with Andy Stankiewicz. John Savage will join us on campus at UCLA. The pitching factory with what they've been able to do. It's the ABCA, the great convention at the Gaylord, not too far from that flight pattern at DFW. Everyone coming to town for this one. 8,000 coaches. More in a minute on Perfect Game TV.
I need all the wins, yeah. Ain't no else, gotta get it, no call it quits, yeah. Gotta keep on moving no matter how hard it gets, yeah. Better move out the way, cause I'm coming with harder hits. My head is as hard as a brick, but I'm harder than all of this. You better move, you might get knocked out, knocked out. You better move, you might get knocked out, knocked out.
I feel like Mike, Jordan, give me the rock and I'm scoring. Hey, came from the bottom, that's scoring. I swear that I'm up for the sun in the morning. I told him this ain't a game.
Of a country, and I'm a Western guy, he's a Western guy, but we're here, and we appreciate you hanging out with us.
My pleasure. Thank you.
What do you like about the ABCA? Hunter and I find ourselves very inquisitive.
Yeah.
We're kind of both new kids to this convention.
Yeah.
And I'm not a convention guy, I'll be the first to say it.
Yeah.
But I see the benefits. What are the benefits?
The benefits is connecting with people that are smarter than you. And people with that have had a lot of experience in the game. There's a lot more pro influence, I think, now than there's ever been. So you get a lot of, I've seen a couple general managers, I've seen major league players, you see Bobby and his family, obviously, and it's just a lot of good connections, really, for young, middle age, and even old people that want to connect with people at the highest level. and people that want to connect and learn more about technology and data and certainly all the things that's going on with development. Player development is a big part of why we're here, and also connecting at the end of the day of trying to improve your program. So it's just always been a really fun time before you kick off the season, and it's a fun time to connect, and then boom, we're on it on Monday. Really, we get back Sunday, but it's great to have you guys here, obviously, and it's just the exhibits are getting better, the clinics are getting better, and it just seems that everything's really becoming at a really high pro level.
So selfishly, one of the highlights for me as a baseball fan this year. We're a Dodgers and a Reds house. I was just telling our last guest, and this is a Red highlight again.
Yeah.
Was seeing the Major League debut of Matt McClain. I was in Colorado when it happened. Oh, my gosh. And understanding what he went through for a couple of years with you, gambling on himself, gambling that you were the right place to be.
Yeah.
How proud were you of him this year? Look, he performed at it. He got MVP votes and deservedly so. How proud were you of him?
So proud. Whenever you have a first rounder that comes to your school, it doesn't happen very often, first off. We had Garrett Cole and we had Matt McClain. And those are two pretty good examples of guys that bet on themselves and certainly made the decisions of a lifetime of really knowing that 18, 19, 20-year-old window, they needed personal development, they needed maturity, they needed to go through some things, some failures without being on the clock per se. Mm-hmm. And I think at the end of the day, for sure, Garrett, you could say stamped it and nailed it, and certainly Matt has as well. And he's still a very, very young player, but very proud of his versatility, very proud of his production, and it's just fun hearing all the Reds talk and the De La Cruz talk and all the young guys that have been so impactful for the Reds this past year, and Matt really right in the middle of it, and playing a lot of different positions, playing second, playing short, playing all over, and it's just fun seeing his progression into the major leagues.
Well, John, I got to say, it's been really fun to connect with the college level, the college game, obviously the high school game here at PG as well.
Yeah.
And as this being my first kind of event ever to be at, away from like the Fall Classic, you were the first interview I had where I was like, whoa, college baseball is ahead of sometimes a lot of what we have already in the major leagues. And so I'm very excited to dive back in. It was about 2-3 years ago. I don't remember the last time we talked. And we had this great discussion about pitching. And obviously you've had such amazing pitchers throughout the career. But has anything changed in the last couple of years? Where are you at right now in the pitching development and all the technology? Have you had any breakthroughs or just fine-tuning of things over the last couple of years?
It's a good question. I just think every arm angle, every body type is different. So you really got to make sure you put each guy in the best possible position to have success, and really try to stay away from his weaknesses per se. And that's just where where the fastball profiles, the usages. There's just a lot of so much involved in development here, rather than just the mental game per se, and the the pure practice of your craft. It's just it's so important that you train them the right way. It's so important that you get the body composition and the motion capture and making sure that you're really working on the mobility and different things throughout their body structures that will allow them to have the best success. You may be trying to, like you heard Brian Bannister talk today, talking about guys trying to ride the ball where, their ball should be going that way. Mm-hmm. And not, everybody, has to find their niche, and he used it so well. Brian was fabulous in terms of his descriptions and how to fix guys and how to stay away from certain things and stop, modeling guys after, the same guy. And so there's a lot in terms of player development, that's really going on, and clearly on the hitting side as well. Just different. That's what's so neat about the convention, is that there's so many new tactics out there, and there's so new strategies and different ways. Like, this really fits within our program. And then obviously just for the high school stuff, budget wise, and who can afford what, and what do we have, what do we don't have. And I think the convention does a really good job of talking to the masses. And I think that's important from a pitching perspective, because you still have to have a foundational truth about your pitchers. They got to be able to do certain things, regardless of what they look like. They're 6'6", they're 6'4", they're 6 feet, they're 88 or they're 94, or what is their best secondary pitch? What is their usages? I think that's huge, and then certainly repeating their delivery and the pitchability aspect. So. You want to grab the new, but you want to make sure you understand the old and understand, maybe not the old, but understand, what has gone on so long in baseball that is still successful. And, the command of the ball and the strike percentage and be able to hold runners and pitch out of problems. And, there's a lot of things that goes into the development of a pitcher. And it just takes time.
Yeah.
And I think patience. So I've learned patience. I've learned that good things don't happen overnight. It takes a while to develop a young man, and it's the best job in the world. I mean, I love it. I love developing people, and that goes for coaches as well. And that's why I'm here, is to develop as a better coach, and because I know there's a lot of information out there.
So my worlds have just collided. And by the way, I am so glad that you enjoyed Bannister's presentation, because I got it with the Giants in spring training last year. Yeah. And if you ask me, Brian Bannister is an absolute pitching genius. There's no doubt about it.
Yes,
I am very, very upset that we lost him in San Francisco, but I'm happy for him to be with the White Sox now. But it is really amazing. So, I want to blend Savage with Bannister with Swope. Because Swope, I don't know if you've heard about, I'm sure you have, the motor preferences. And that's kind of what you're talking about, because some pitchers are going to have kind of the pronated natural, this guy should be throwing a sinker.
Exactly.
And, if you looked at, for instance, I followed, obviously, the Giants, which is what my family's really into. If you watched what Bannister put together in Bailey, it was like the whole clock of every angle. And Bannister just has this amazing graph access of how you can tunnel each pitch, and they have a certain window where hitters can crush it at the major league level. And so I know that this is getting really deep and really nerdy, and I'm sure you understand
that's where we're
it.
at. Keep going.
I'm sure it's where you're really into.
Yeah.
But how much have you dived into the motor preferences? And I want to get into this so that you can explain more to most people. It's find out what your body does easier. And if you're a sinker guy, the kind of east-west movement versus there's some people who are naturally like this. Like you talk to Sonny Gray, and Sonny Gray's like, it just cuts. I don't even mean to. I'm just throwing a fastball, and it's a slider. So is that what you found as you've coached many pitchers and some of the best arms? And I want to talk. Let's just stop. I'm gonna stop there.
Well, I think you're right on. I mean, Brian's information is just it could go from the high school level to the junior college level to the college level, and then certainly at the professional level. I coached Brian at USC. Brian was just a young infielder that came in throwing 82 like he talked about, and I knew he was so bright, and I knew that. So now when I hear him talk, it doesn't really surprise me. So I just think that at the end of the day, you really have to look at, like I said, each pitcher, what they can do, what they can't do, and then you have to train them within the rails of success. And it's so the velocity piece is really a hard piece to grab a hold of. He mentioned Logan Webb in terms of. He wanted to go this way and that, and understanding he needed to go that way, and then the ground ball ratio and the ground ball percentages, and all of a sudden he gets back to being clearly one of the best pitchers in baseball, and so it's really, I think, getting to know yourself, and then being trained, that's going to allow you to get to that potential, because you just don't know what you have, and that's what he said best. Brian said best that. The one thing that he excites him the most is to get somebody good fast. And maybe that's more of a professional perspective. Now, we have him a 3-year window, 4-year window. It's not a long window, but I think the fast part is certainly on the professional level, because we got to turn this guy's career around now. We can't wait. It's not a 2-year window per se. So it was just fun to hear his terminology and his information, his education, really kind of combine it, because he's working, like he said, with 12-year-olds and 13-year-olds, and he's talking about guys moving the ball in terms of cutters and stuff at 13, and that allowed him to have success. And so it's just the cookie cutter pitcher is just out. It's just it just doesn't exist anymore. And that beautiful on time. I'm talking tomorrow and talking about Kershaw and Anderson's little glitches to offset timing, to the hitter.
Yeah,
and you guys,
his hitch was so annoying.
It's annoying, and then those so you want the beautiful I'm going to use his name back. Chris Benson was a beautiful looking right-handed pitcher, smooth and on time, and so everybody was on time with him. Unfortunately, you know what I mean. And so you want to disrupt timing, and you can do that with spreads and differentials, obviously with the ball, but sometimes physically, and I think Clayton's the poster child of that glitch. Is it'd be hard to even train somebody that way or teach them that strength over the rubber type movement he has. But it really, you can see, and I don't know, I'm sure how many times you faced Kershaw in your career?
He's probably who I faced
150
the most.
times or 200?
Was that natural? Has Kershaw ever talked? Because I don't know if you've ever faced. What he's talking about is Kershaw comes together, and as he's doing his motion, he'll jump down and get lower in his legs. So he's coming, and then he hitches, and then he throws.
And then it's like 1,001. It's like, what are we doing?
So
here?
when you're ready to hit, and then he pauses, and then he explodes, and it's nuts.
Yeah, it's kind of a jump. It's kind of a sit, then a jump, and an extension that. Like you said, it's a different look.
Yep.
And that's a lot of times different looks, are good things for pitchers. And that's why I think you got to look at pitchers and see, is that glitch functional? And is it useful? Does it fit into the repeatability piece? Or is it just a quagmire? Is it a roadblock that needs to get completely taken out of his delivery? So I think that's the challenge that coaches have, is making sure that they don't go in there and fix things too fast. And you know what? Let's see what this guy can do with this, and let's see if he can repeat it. Because if he can repeat it, some of the best coaching I've ever done is
I
not
think
set
that's
anything.
actually great advice.
I mean,
sometimes.
I had Ryan Garcia, who was a second-round pick with the Rangers, and he had 2 or 3 starts, and I was talking to him, and we were working day to day, and then finally I said, you know what, I'm going to go a week without. I'm just going to kind of let him go and kind of talk about execution of pitches, and that's about it. And he went about 13 weeks, and he was the best guy in the country. And I'm like, that's the best coaching I've done in a long, long time.
That's amazing.
Is not doing too much, not saying too much, because one thing coaches got to learn is that you don't talk to make yourself sound and smart. That's not the objective of coaching. The objective of coaching is to help whoever you're working with, and any way you can do that, you find a way to do it. Video, visual, auditory, whatever, and then sometimes you got to pull back, and that's I think that's another thing I've learned over the last couple of years is some of our best coaching is, it's timing. It's baseball's timing, coaching's timing as well.
So I want to show this. These are the freshmen. All these freshmen are UCLA freshmen.
Yeah.
You're not a portal school. You had Rashad. you had Rashad Ruff come to you from Coppin State, graduate student, earned his degree, big arm, great numbers.
Yeah.
You're a true teacher, and it's very cool. You always have been. I mean, think about this. These are all freshmen.
Yeah.
And you got some guys on that list that could have probably changed their lives financially, like Rock Chalowski choose to come be with you instead.
Yeah.
How collectively, this is an unfair way to ask it, but were you proud of your freshman class this past fall?
Oh, yeah. It's a very, very good freshman class. I mean, it's as good as freshman class that I've seen in a long time now. We had Brandon Crawford and David Huff and, of course, Cole and Bauer and, Griffin Canning and some really good freshman classes, Matt McClain and those guys. But it's this class, I think, has probably 10 top 10 round picks.
Yeah.
Wow. Now, you got to hold on to them, right, until they're draft eligible, and you got to bring them up and teach them and play them. But you're right, we are not a portal school. We're not, we're more a true 18, 19, 20-year-old program. Go on your way when you're 20 or 21, and be ready for professional baseball. We're not trying to hold on guys. We're not stealing guys. We're really, truly, and that says a lot about Coach Ward and Coach Gallego and Coach Berg and the entire staff is they're really good at what they do. It's just it's more challenging than it's ever been now, because right now college baseball is a little older than I'd like it to be. With the 20 rounds, with COVID, there's 22 and 23-year-olds, and regardless of how good my 18-year-old Rock Chalowski is, he still may be going against a 22-year-old. And as you guys know, that 4 years is a major deal in terms of experience, in terms of strength, in terms of knowledge. So it's a challenge to play that many young guys, because there's just a lot of older good players. There's a lot of really good players in college right now that would be in professional baseball 5, 6, 7 years ago. But they're just not, because there's no jobs. The inventory of jobs is way down. The inventory of players, each roster is way down, or each organization is way down. And it's the hardest thing to do today is to get drafted.
Yeah.
It's so hard to get drafted. And people look at me like, what are you talking about? And it's like, yeah, it's hard. I mean, 20 rounds is quick. And it's just not a lot, there's not a lot of jobs. And so a lot of good juniors throughout the country that are really, really good are, unfortunately, in their world sometimes, God, I got to go back for my senior year. Well, there's also major leaguers that have played 4 years in college. I mean, there are not a lot, but there are those guys. I had Seth Etherton and Morgan Ensberg and certain guys at USC that played 4 years that were really pretty good major leaguers. So it's I'm very proud of that class, and we hope to hold on to them and coach them and play them, and hopefully they can grow as people.
Thank you. We appreciate your insights, my friend. UCLA
my pleasure.
And John Savage represented. When we come back, a conversation with a man who pitched more than 100 innings, 100 in the postseason. He's got multiple MVPs and taking home hardware along the way. We're going to get a little bit of knowledge on Cole Hamels' youth journey as well. Hunter's teammate, Cole Hamels, joins us on stage here at ABCA.
I need all the wins, yeah. Ain't no else, gotta get it, no call it quits, yeah. Gotta keep on moving no matter how hard it gets, yeah. Better move out the way, cause I'm coming with hard hits. My head is as hard as a brick, but I'm harder than all it is. You better move, you might get knocked out, knocked out. You better move, you might get knocked out, knocked out.
I feel like Mike Jordan. Give me the rock and I'm scoring. Hey, came from the bottom, that's scoring. I swear that I'm up for the sun in the morning. I told him this ain't a game.
and be in the postseason through his times, and these two were teammates, so this ought to be fun. It's an honor to bring Cole Hamels up to this stage and to kind of introduce a little bit about what he went through when he was a younger athlete, too. Cole, thanks for hanging out with us. We really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me, guys.
It's really fun. I can't wait to let you two guys turn it loose just a little bit. But I do want to ask you, when you see all these coaches out here, and their jobs are simple. They want to mold and shape lives. They want to hopefully send a few Coles and Hunters off to the next level. And it's the work they put in. Do you recollect fondly your time as a prep player? You were highly thought of coming out of Rancho Bernardo High School. But is it something that for you clicks as a fond memory?
I got really lucky when I was in Little League. The coaching, I know sometimes you look at it as it can be kind of political, whose dad is going to be the coach, that kid's going to play all the time. But I got really lucky with the fact that a group of friends just decided to coach, and it was 4 guys. They had no kids on the team, and they just decided to coach, and they were unreal. And we actually had a really good team, and about 3 of us from that team made the high school team, and kind of branched out from there. But that right there was such a pivotal point, because they didn't make it kind of that politicalized. It was, hey, we're going to put in the work, and you fight for your position, and we're going to teach you. And they really did teach us, and that's why I really fell in love with the game.
When you look back, one of your scouts anyway that helped to bring you to that position when you graduated high school was Daryl Connor, one of those scouts anyway along the way. What do you recall about that experience? Now players are Zooming with major league teams. They're virtually connecting. You look back at your draft experience. What did it look like?
I remember, I think probably about a week before the draft, you have every scout from every team, cross-checker. There had to probably be about 30 to 35 scouts in the stands in the back. I mean, they're surrounding, first base. Everybody's got a radar gun, stopwatches, but it's just, there were more scouts than actual parents and, kind of school kids. So I think that was the intensity of knowing that this was real. And it is. I had a couple teammates that were getting drafted too, and the team that we played against, a couple guys got drafted. So you just could kind of see that, this was the future. And that was when I really was like, I'm ready to go. I want to see what this next level is all about.
Well, you definitely did. You saw what the next level was about. You wrestled it to the ground and dominated it. Many years, a crazy, amazing career. Congratulations on that, Cole. It was an honor to get to play with you. I still have nightmares of the 2011 Phillies not being World Series champions. I will argue to this day, and I was on 2 teams that happened to make that journey. 2011 was the most talented team I ever played on. Absolutely nuts. So anyway, I just wanted to bring that up. But tell us a little bit about where you are today. What do you think of the ABCA? What's your goal out here? Obviously, we're glad to have you on the stage, but what are you learning?
I think a lot of it is, I do have 2 boys. So I think for the last couple of years with, not playing and I was rehabbing, I was around a little bit more to come to, this sort of tournaments and seeing what is really involved and how much it has just transcend, from basically, parents dropping their kids off and you play some baseball and you're going to Dairy Queen if you won. There's a real purpose behind it, and the practices and just so much more that is in tune to help the game of baseball. I know a big stick was play as many sports as possible. That's going to create the best athlete. I think it's kind of changed a little bit because now baseball is incorporating it into their workouts, is being a good athlete, and then you go specify in the game of baseball. So you're building, team chemistry, and you're building that willingness to get to the next level. And so that's kind of what I've seen with the game of baseball.
And with regards to your boys, and kind of like what is their regimen right now? You mentioned, it's totally different. It's evolved. They're almost professionals. I follow my nephews, and they have workout programs and diets, and I'm like, what? You're 14 years old. Are you not getting to be a kid? And do they listen to you at all, or are they like, Dad doesn't know, he only played for forever?
I know. It's playing catch with them. That's probably about as close as I get. I really wanted to take a standoff approach. I wanted to see what the coaches were going to do. I want them to know that you have to listen to somebody that is in charge. That's not their dad. Because every dad wants their kid to be the best, and they're going to support them to the ends of the earth. So, but in life, you have to know how to take, words of wisdom and, critique from somebody else, and how does that make your character? And it is. You just said it. They have workouts and, the drills and the amount of time that they're spending in trying to perfect something. And the best thing ever is video. I mean, now you can actually see something and correct it right then and there, opposed to, taking a whole season of trying to learn one little thing because you couldn't figure it out until all of a sudden it did click. There's just a faster pace.
Why do you think it was for you, and you talked about your solid coaching as a youth and even through high school, you were ready really quickly. I mean, when you look at your minor league numbers, you aren't supposed to, players aren't supposed to do what you did this quickly, whether it be the command. I mean, you're looking at a minor league career with a $1.50 ERA, 1.55. You missed a ton of bats. For you, as you reflect back, was it partly your home life, your upbringing, along with the coaching? Why do you think you were ready so quickly?
I did have, I battled with perfectionism. Everything I was doing, I wanted to be perfect at it. So it was a constant work. I mean, it's an OCD sort of thing that I guess, we kind of can characterize. I think playing in San Diego, the competition, going up to LA, playing against that, you're playing against guys. I was sort of a late bloomer, so I had to kind of level up. I had to grind more because I wasn't going to be the biggest kid. I wasn't throwing the hardest, so I had to specialize in location and being smart. I mean, it's the cat and mouse. In high school, I was throwing bullpens with Jesse Orozco. He lived in the area. He'd come and throw, and so I watched him, and he would talk about it. And I think it's just feeding off of what true veterans and leaders and guys before me, and I really took that to heart. And then when I got to the minor leagues, the Phillies did a phenomenal job with the guys that they would bring in, the older players, and I would listen to them. And Tug McGraw, at times was there. You just saw and respected the guys that came, and then you wanted to prove it to them that you could do what they did.
Your parents, and I marvel working with him, and I always tell him about it. He's such a learner. He craves all the guests we have, whether it's a college coach, a travel coach, a dad of a player, and it's so refreshing to work with him. You were raised by educators. And so I'm guessing for you, the concept of perfection was aided and abetted by the ability to learn. I'm going to guess that your parents made it clear, like, we're not jacking around in the classroom. You have to make your grades. So it probably assisted you to be raised by educators, yes?
Oh, my gosh. I think if I failed a test or if I didn't do well or I got in trouble, my parents knew about it before I did. It's like my dad was on speed dial. It was. I think it was something where my dad, I don't think thought I was going to play Major League Baseball. That was not even what he was trying for me. He wanted me to go to school. And so he said, if baseball can help you go to school, that's great, but you're going to get an education, and that is what you're there. He was pushing more of a finance major, not a Major League Baseball player. So, I knew the importance I had. Schoolwork came first, and then it was playtime, and that baseball was my outlet. And so that's kind of how I created my identity, but school was always first and foremost.
Yeah, your parents, Gary and Amanda, love giving reference to parents. So here's the thing, and you know it as a parent. It's Caleb and Braxton, your boys, right?
Yeah.
14 and 12?
14 and 12.
Okay, so 14 and 12. Here's the thing. Their generation, they know all the top players in their age group. They absolutely do because of these.
Yes.
You didn't have one of these back then, in that sense, anyway, social media. But you were ranked top 20 player. Kazmir, Melvin Upton, Zach Greinke, John Lester, James Loney, Brian McCann, Prince Fielder, Alex Gordon, Matt Cain. These are all guys that, and you, were within the top 100. Because we were in a different time back then, how aware were you of all those names back then? Does that question make sense?
No, I knew Prince Fielder. I mean, when you have a kid with a superstar, you're going to know that. But for me, it was Scott Kazmir because he was the top left-handed pitcher.
There you go.
So that was my competition. It wasn't a right-hander. It wasn't a hitter. It was, okay, in my category, who's the best left-handed pitcher? Scott Kazmir was phenomenal. I mean, if you really looked at what he was doing, he threw harder than all of us, wipeout slider, played in the state of Texas. So you're just like, all right, this kid's real. He was my competition. And then, to be able to kind of see him in the minor leagues and then to eventually face him in the big leagues, it was awesome. I just love to compete against the best of the best. I mean, that's why with Hunter sitting next to me, it's when you play against the best of the best, that's when you're ready for it and you want to see who's going to stand where.
I can't wait to share this story about Cole Hamels real quick, my guy. We're in Philadelphia. Matt Cain, pretty good hitter, facing Cole Hamels, since they both happen to be on that list. And I know you know what I'm about to say. Yeah. Cole's not necessarily known for hitting. He's got a good swing. It's sweet. It's kind of a golfer swing. You know, it definitely wasn't ugly, but definitely not like the power hitter. Granted, you threw 97, 98. Like, you had the power arm. Matt Cain goes deep off of Cole Hamels. The next inning, Cole is facing Matt Cain, and you could just feel the rage in his eyes. He takes Matt Cain deep back. They both hit homers off of each other in the same game. It was unbelievable. Cole Hamels, you were the ultimate competitor. It was so fun to play behind you. You just he's the nicest guy. Like, he seems, he's got the educator, he's got the comb over, super, and one of the most giving people. He donated a $10 million house to Texas. Like, kindest, biggest heart. But I think he might kill you on the baseball field when he's playing against you. Not literally, but maybe.
2012. That happened in 2012.
Yes. So anyway, I love the competitiveness, the switch that you turned into. You were no longer you. You were this different crazy person.
I think I was 5'8", not even 100 pounds. And I'm like, I'm trying to play for this team. They're scouts. I don't throw 90 miles an hour. I was barely hitting 75 miles an hour. So the high school coach came over to me and said, if you want to get up to this level, you've got to learn pitches. Throw your fastball through it. And he goes, all right, well, hopefully you'll grow into that. Okay, throw your curveball. I threw the curveball so inconsistent. He goes, okay, what else can you throw? I was like, that's it. He goes, all right, we're going to learn a circle change. And so that's kind of what he did. He showed me a circle change. He goes, all year, you're on the freshman team, you're going to learn this pitch. Then next year, you're going to try it for the varsity. And so that was my mission, and I learned all year round. I mean, I threw change-ups after change-ups, playing catch, throwing them long toss. It was just anything I had a ball in my hand, it was a change-up grip until I finally got it down. And then that's kind of what separated me, and it's just throwing that pitch and seeing a guy completely just spin themselves around. That right there was the intoxicating feel of a swing and miss. I was like, all right, I like that. That's what I want. It wasn't about throwing 95 to 100 miles an hour.
They're wrapping me real quick. Sorry, Hunter. They're wrapping me real quick. Can you just show that change-up grip to that gentleman right there?
Yeah.
Because we're at a teaching conference as we say goodbye.
Once again, the Bobby Witt baseball getting used for play.
Make sure, it's being used. There's that change-up grip right there.
So you just threw it a bunch, and was it a feel thing? Did you change your grip, or?
It was a feel thing. I mean, I turned it over a little bit. So, I just wanted to feel it come off the fingertips. And I tried to keep the same arm speed because that was what it was.
The arm speed on your changeup was devastating. It was so Invisipitch, the air bender, and that is so cool to hear. So
that's why on a windy day when I had the crosswind, I knew it was even worse. I was like, I'm going to throw probably 90 changeups today. I've got a crosswind. I'm used to
the true Bugs Bunny changeup.
Yes.
Thank you for returning his autographed baseball.
It's a good ball.
Cole, thank you. This was a real treat to have you here.
Thanks for having me.
Well, what a career this man had. We learned from him, certainly there. All right, when we come back, we're going to talk with Aaron Cunningham, and we're diving deep into the leadership at the Hunter Pence Baseball Academy. His fingerprints on it, but he gives a lot of credit to others. Mr. Cunningham will help us understand that. One of the fastest growing, more successful travel ball programs in the country is HBPA, Hunter Pence Baseball Academy. That conversation when we come back. More, by the way, Alphabet Soup at the ABCA.
What's going on, guys? I am with Soldier Sports, and they just newly released their Tank BB Core Drop 3. The pop is insane. It's got an incredibly good feel. Feels a little bit like a Voodoo with that balance feel. The hand is great, little flare knob. But we're going to take some swings here, check out some exit videos, and see how it tests. 97. 99. So as you can see, I mean, this thing's hot. It's got great feel. I'm really loving it. So go check it out. Soldier Sports US. Let's go.
Being in the wild is best when you're with your family. We do all kinds of different things at camp. Go fish, surf, dive. I think I'll probably be coming out here the rest of my life.
part of telling stories, especially at the college level. We love having him as our co-host. We're very lucky, a perfect game college baseball, but it took a little bit of foresight for many years that the Hunter Pence Baseball Academy grew, and he always gives credit to these two guys to his right. Always gives a lot of the credit, though his name and his vision has led to it. Sean Danielson joins us, the owner of Hunter Pence Baseball Academy. On the far right, Aaron Cunningham, the director of college placement. Sean, you're surprised. You came in last minute. I'm very, very glad you did. Very, very glad you did. So I'm going to go with a little bit more of a generic question because there's so many things I want to get into with your relationship, the three of you guys. But as coaches, and you don't have to travel too far, this is on your home turf, what do you take away from an event like this? What are you hoping you take away?
Just catching up with people. It's really fun I ran into, several teammates. We've met several coaches, made some connections, trying to continue to get players to the next level. And then also kind of seeing players that have turned into coaches and such here as well over the years. That's the most gratifying part, that they still represent the brand and want to push players our way and that thing. So it's been really great.
One of the big things, Aaron, for you on your resume, and it's exciting because you have so many great commits, different kinds of schools, whether it's ASU, whether it's McLennan, whether it's Louisiana Monroe, is you help the families and the athletes find the right place to play, which means for you, when the college coach calls, he trusts you, and you are able to stand up. How are we evolving in recruiting? I emceed a panel last night with some recruiting coordinators, and it's interesting the way it's going. I'm a glass half full guy, so I see it that way, but as you, at this convention, deal with recruiting, what are you learning?
Yeah, it's an ever-evolving world. You've got the transfer portal now has really impacted college baseball. Junior college has become a more attractive avenue for the high school player than it maybe was 5 or 10 years ago. Talent is talent. That's what they're looking for. They're looking for good human beings, good students, and great athletes. And so we try to do our best to talk to those guys, figure out what it is they're looking for. Over the time, you kind of get a feel for what it is they are looking for. And then we just try to connect those dots between the player and the school. So it's really but coming here is great because you get to catch up with guys you maybe don't see all the time, guys from other parts of the country outside of the region. And so it's really wonderful to kind of network and make those connections so we can bring it back to our guys.
Yeah, Aaron, and I think you're on the groundwork. You're coaching a lot of teams as well as trying to push these players to college. Tell me a little bit about, there's a lot of information out here and some of the greatest minds in baseball, if you ask me. Is there anyone in particular that you listen to or you're looking forward to listen to kind of add to that growth mindset of the pitching development? I know that you're the pitching mind of Hunter Pence baseball and how that's changed over the years and like where you're kind of at.
Oh, yeah. Tom House has always been a guy that I've always admired. Ron Woolforth down at the Texas Baseball Ranch. I was fortunate to grow up learning from him as my own pitching coach. And then just a lot of the different younger minds. I think that's kind of the cool blend that you get here is you get some of the new school, some of the old school, some of the guys that are really good at kind of combining both. And for me, I'm always a student of the game. I'm never going to stop learning. I always want to know more. I want to know something that I didn't know before. So coming here, by osmosis, you're going to learn stuff that you never knew before or see some of the cool tech and stuff that's helping advance kids and develop them into players. And a little jealous I didn't have those things when I was growing up. So it's really cool to just come here and just, it's like a baseball mecca. It's really cool.
All right, Sean, so tell me a little bit about the HP Academy. Introduce us to what's been going on. Your thoughts on the state of high school baseball development as it is today and how it can improve.
Well, we're on year number 13. And
that's
the
impressive.
thing I'm most proud of.
It happened too quick, man.
It's kind of flown by, and the evolution of seeing the players, start as youngsters. Now they're in college, a couple guys in pro ball, and then coming back home to give back to the kids. That's kind of the most beautiful part of the whole thing. Where we're at now in the baseball world is it's just so competitive, and all these kids are extremely talented. So winning at the highest level is harder than it's ever been. But we've been doing a pretty good job of competing. Lots of people are noticing we try to do things the right way. And thanks to you, we're here, man.
Well, it's thanks to all of us because you're the blood, sweat, and tears. We put in, the start. You and Howie grinded for a lot of years. But I want to jump back to kind of stay in here. But the run you had in Jupiter and what those kids were able to do. Can you describe kind of that team, that journey, and those kids and overall what they were able to accomplish?
Yeah, that was an amazing run. We made it to the Elite Eight, lost in extra innings. It was a heartbreaker. But that was a special group for us. Those kids had played together for a long time. We're big on the culture element of our organization. We don't do a whole lot of pickup players, so the kids really, they grind with each other. They practice with each other. The ups and downs, I think, lead you to a place like Jupiter where the competition is as good as it gets. And, we faced some teams that on paper we weren't supposed to beat, and we beat a few of them and made a great run. Like I said, lost on an extra inning heartbreaker to a great Doolin Dodgers team. But yeah, we really put it all together. I think for the kids, it was the biggest tournament. You kind of heard even throughout the summer, all eyes were on Jupiter. We were really focused on trying to make a run there, and I think we accomplished that. Like I said, we were a little disappointed that we got knocked out there in the quarterfinal, but it was a heck of a run. We were proud of those guys.
Sean, how did this come together?
So I played for a long time, and Hunter and I were off-season workout partners for years. When my career ended, I knew that I wanted to start a baseball academy. We had done a camp one year, and it was pretty successful. And Howie, Hunter's older brother, decided to get in on it with me. We opened it. A couple weeks before, Hunter was like, "Put my name on it. Let's do this." And he really helped us, start from the ground up and build it up. Like I said, 13 years later, here we are. I'm still doing it. We're growing. We're looking at expanding. We're looking at different options, and it couldn't be more fun.
What are the expectations of athletes that wear the HP on their chest? What are the expectations for the players that you have?
Well, one is that they're going to play hard. They're going to be great teammates. They're going to respect the game, play the game the right way. And really just play for each other. I think that's one of our superpowers as an organization, is that we're a tight-knit group. Our kids really do care about each other. We care about them. And I think it's really just that camaraderie and learning how to play the right way. And I think that helps carry them in the long run, because, your talent is one thing, but how you're made up, your character, those are the things I think that help carry you throughout life. And I think for us, that's a big part of it. So we're all about, having good kids that are really talented, that can play the game, but that are good people, good families. We ask our families to be at the ballpark all summer. We want that to be enjoyable for them as well. And so, yeah, just being good people, good players, that's really what we're looking for.
And I got to say, this is a bit of an emotional moment, because obviously remembering, the work that Sean put in, the work that you put into these kids, and what y'all, this is where you really feel it. Y'all put time, effort, and love into these kids to teach them to be proud of themselves. I know Sean you're amazing with the kids. Cunningham as well, at getting them to be okay with being themselves. They have them dance. They have them, be okay with who you are. Teaching them leadership skills that transcend. And that's been kind of a common theme with everyone we've talked to. But it just means a lot to me what y'all been able to build, the hard work, the sweat and the tears. And I know what it's been, and you've given a lot of gifts to kids. JJ Goss, the first rounder, come back and is now, you see the cycle start to happen. What's it been like to have JJ Goss coming in and teaching pitching lessons, and the impact that he has as the first rounder that's close to making it with the Tampa Bay Rays?
JJ, he hits close to home, because he traveled. He was almost a roommate for me at times, and Aaron as well. He still comes back. He's doing lessons with kids. Mm-hmm. He still gets pitching lessons from Aaron.
I love that.
He's playing basketball. He's breaking our basketball goal. He's in there training every single day, trying to get ready to go back and make it. So we're really rooting for him. But his impact on the academy has just been huge. Anytime the kids come in, they see the velo leaderboard, 100.6, whatever was his record, and it's there. People are trying to break it, and he offers anyone the challenge at any time. So it's really good to have him around during the off seasons.
It's so unique. I love the story in the start. I love that he's moved by what is, and deservedly so. But if you think about the concept, right, guys, to have an active player to want to kind of, hey, put my name on it, let me partner with you guys, I kind of find it unique, don't you?
It's a blessing. You know, we've been friends since we were 6, 7 years old.
Well, and just to want to be a part of it, right? I mean, and again, I want to be careful because I don't want to put people into one bucket as the same, but players are focused on being players. But if you're already thinking a little bit, hey, there is a way I want to impact the game beyond this, I just find it simple-minded pretty cool.
Oh, no, I agree. He's done a lot to help us, and we've got a great staff at home as well that have really put in a ton of hours as well. So it's like he said, it's a family thing.
Yeah. And they did an amazing job. Like, they understood that when you're playing, you're focused on playing. And I showed up when I could. And honestly, they've always helped me train. And I try to give them the info that I have. It's been just a good, cohesive team, just like anything. And I trust Sean with anything, especially my name. And I know that he's putting it to good use. And it's so fun, like you said, to just see the journey, to follow the kids from youth, to see them in college, to see them succeed, even though I'm not hands-on because I was, out and about doing my thing. But it is cool what y'all built, and to have to honestly to carry my name like you do, I appreciate it. I want to ask you, Sean, because we ask a lot of people this, and it's one of my favorite questions. But if you were to go back and to talk to 13 years ago when you were starting this thing, and I'm sure you've learned a lot about coaching. Teach us a little bit about what you've learned most about coaching, what you would tell your younger self, and what you would tell a young coach starting today.
I think for myself personally, I've had to learn to be patient.
We've heard that a lot.
You expect these players to do a lot, and you put a lot of time into them. And when they don't execute, you have to understand how hard this game is. So you kind of have to revert back to your playing days. But then you kind of see the game how your manager saw it when you were playing. So it's like, man, if I could have just molded all that, coulda, shoulda, woulda, who knows what would have happened. But, I think that's the biggest thing that I would take back. Learn that patience a little bit younger. Still keep the fire, right? It's got to be intense, nonstop. We go hard. But also, have some slack on the guys a little bit in certain moments.
Yeah. Cunningham, anything for you?
I would just say that, for me, I've learned that you've got to get to know your guys and get to know what makes them tick. When I first got into coaching, I was kind of flying blind. I just wanted to coach everybody this way. And what I think I've evolved into knowing is you got to dive in and get to know your kids on a personal level. Some kids, you kind of got to get into them, and then some kids, if you do that, you could get them, they might shut down on you. And so you really got to get to know your guys, love on them, see what kind of helps bring the best out of them. And I think that can be a challenge as a coach because sometimes kids don't want to show you what makes them tick. And you got to kind of really dig into them and figure out, hey, this is who this kid is. This is how I bring out the best in him individually. And then obviously doing that within the team scope, can be a challenge. So I think it's taken time to learn how to do that. But I think that's really helped kind of make me a better coach and mentor to the young guys.
High school legend you were, by the way, back in 2014 strikeouts.
Oh, God.
Championship game, 5A state championship. I loved reading about you.
Oh, thank you.
Your words resonate. You could just tell them, hey, Google me.
Google
me. Google me. Look me up. Can I bend your guys' ears on a couple of ball players, let you brag on some of your players?
Please.
Is that okay?
Yeah.
Aaron, let's start with you. So Trenton Buckley is a Louisiana Monroe commit. He goes to Magnolia West High School. He's an outfielder. Mm-hmm. Who is he? You've watched him play. Tell us about him.
Yeah, so Trenton, he goes to Magnolia West High School. Wonderful kid, great family. He's really come on strong lately because he's kind of made the decision to be a two-way player. He's had one of the best arms in the country. Since we've known him. I think he literally had the number one outfield throwing velocity in the country at about 100, 101 miles an hour. Decided this summer that he wanted to get on the mound. I think first outing out hit 94. Kind of changed his trajectory in terms of going from being just a position player to a two-way guy. And not to take anything away from him, he was a starting second baseman on a state championship team at Magnolia West High School this year, so the kid can really hit, he can play. Really competitive, but then you put it on the mound and you can see the tools that he's got there. Super high spin rate breaking ball that I know the Louisiana Monroe guys fell in love with. And so I think that really just kind of let him take off towards the end of the summer into the fall. And then he was fortunate enough to get a get a scholarship over there to ULM, and those guys are doing a great job of developing pitchers. And so I think he's going to really take off after he gets there. But, yeah, he's a heck of a young player that I think he's really just starting to scratch the surface.
You've got one coming to the Valley. So I'm a Phoenix, Scottsdale resident.
Oh, yeah.
And Chase Batten, left-handed pitcher, Foster High School. Whatever Willie Bloomquist, both you guys said to him when he called to inquire about Chase. Tell us about Chase, left-handed arm.
Yeah, so Chase, I mean, the sky's the limit for him. About as natural of a thrower of the ball from the left side as we've had. Really just naturally competitive. Talk about the Jupiter run. He came in and closed out 2 huge one-run ball games for us out there against 2 outstanding clubs that chock full of SEC guys, and just chopped right through them and won us 2 games. Wants the ball in the biggest moments. I think he's still physically maturing. He's in that 87 to 90 range now. But I think Willie sees it. It's going to be low to mid 90s when he's 21 years old, and I think the draft's going to be calling his name. But yeah, when Willie saw him, he struck out 17 batters in 6 innings. So I think he put on a pretty good show for him when he was there. So I can understand why Arizona State fell in love.
This has been great. Aaron, Sean, thank you so much.
Thank you.
He talks about you guys all the time. This has been an honor to spend time with you. I see you in dugouts at all of our events, but this has been wonderful. Thanks for stopping up with us.
Hey, thank you. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you.
Hunter Pence Baseball Academy. As he said, proud to wear his name on there, and they're doing an amazing thing. And unique, right? An active major leaguer partnering in that situation. All right, when we come back, we'll continue more great conversation. We've got some fun stuff lined up. We're going to, at some point, send it back out to Danny. I know we'll have a chance and an opportunity to speak with Perfect Game's CEO and our leader, Rob Poncher, who is here as well. All kinds of uniqueness as we're putting a bow, almost running to the end of what has been an amazing day 2 at the ABCA. More in a minute from Texas.
Oh, yeah. Wait for this one.
All right, we are back on the trade floor. We have it to ourselves for a moment, and I am so lucky to be joined by Corey Muscara, the Wake Forest pitching coach. We spent a lot of time together last year. I was so lucky to call so many of your games, and now I get to see you here in Dallas for ABCA. So the first thing I want to know is why Dallas? Why are you here? What do you want to do at ABCA?
Honestly, just get to meet some people that I haven't seen in a while, network, get to see some old friends. Probably my favorite thing that I've done so far is one of my really good friends, Jason Ferber, was chopping it up out in the lobby out here about motor preferences. A guy I worked with at Maryland, he started a company called the Motor Preference Experts. He's now the head coach there, Matt Swope, really bright guy, and I've always been fascinated by it. I've always been intrigued, wanted to learn more, and we just had an impromptu breakdown session out there for about 30 minutes, and I learned some things. And so it's little things like that that are impactful. And you never know when you're going to meet somebody that, you know, down the road, maybe they have a player or, you know, maybe you have another job and you want to hire somebody. It's just good networking. I haven't been in years, you know, and I just had a baby, so I've been at home for a while, and it's kind of feels weird like being released out in the wild. I don't know what to do with myself. So,
well, congratulations to you and your family. I know it was a busy year, your run to Omaha. There's a lot going on, and now you add a new member to your family. Is anyone getting sleep, by the way?
Our new baby's actually been fantastic. She's sleeping. It's incredible. We're really blessed. She's been awesome. So we're really thankful. And I actually probably slept less last night than I did the previous few days because she sleeps so well. So
It's funny you talk about the conversations you have in the lobby. You really can't walk that far without seeing someone that you know or an old friend or coach or whatever it may be. But I'm very interested in the motor preferences as well. I was talking to Tommy Pham about them. He worked with Swope, and we obviously know where Matt Shaw went as well in the draft. So I feel like that's a pretty big topic right now. But it's not just that, right? There's a lot of different things you can pick up and learn. How do you discern between the conversations you have and maybe some things you want to take back to Wake and things you just kind of one ear and out the other?
Well, I think everything in life is a filtering process, right? Like you have to have feel, you have to have some instinct. And I think you have to be open-minded enough to listen to what people have to say. But you also have to have enough conviction in what you believe. You know, you think through things, you allow it to kind of settle and digest, and then you go with your feel. You go with your emotions and how you feel on something, right? So like, I think that's the art of coaching. Right? If you're out there just trying to regurgitate everything you hear, you're a robot, right? Like you could have somebody like stand up there and read a book and tell it to you. But it's the art of coaching. It's not the science of coaching. And you have to figure out like, you know, what's applicable to this person versus that person. And with the motor preference things, like I don't really understand it that well. I'm intrigued by it. I'm fascinated by it. You know, maybe one thing I heard will help one player. Cool. That's great, you know. But my big thing is, like, I definitely don't have all the answers. All I want to do is try to empower my players to feel very confident and try to be the best version of themselves. So in order to do that, like, I have to be real with them. Like, I'm going to try to find the answers. I'm going to give you everything I got. I might not always be right. And it's the same thing when having a conversation with somebody. Like, they might not have all the answers. There's always that grandstanding and posturing that everyone wants to feel like they have to give all the answers. But you can see through it. You know, it's easy to see, it's easy to spot, and you see genuineness too. You see people that have conviction and passion in what they believe in, and generally those people, you might want to listen to what they have to say, because if they believe in it that much, there's probably something to it, you know?
Well, I think I hung on a lot of the words. You know, we had conversations during the regular season and postseason, but it wasn't just you, it was your players and your pitchers in particular, and hearing them talk about what is important to Wake Forest, but what's important to them. And it felt very collaborative all the time, and that you weren't just telling them what to do and how to do it. You were listening to, well, what works for you and what do you like and how can we improve just in this area, right? Maybe just 1%. It doesn't have to be this huge overhaul. And, you know, I think about some of the guys who are coming through your program, who just got drafted from your program, and I feel excited for them. But just if you get a second to reflect on the year and your pitching staff as a whole, is there something that you are most proud of?
I just love how our team came together. You know, it sounds kind of corny, but it was the most fun team ever to be around. You know, all of our guys, for the most part, have come back a lot this fall, and I've seen them. Was actually just telling you one of your assistants here went to school with Sean Sullivan, and I had him babysitting my kids the other day. That's the coolest part.
Trust him with your kids. I mean, that's exceptional.
And he's an edgy dude. So, but no, I love Sean. They're just really great guys to be around. You know, they're bought in, they're passionate, they have a ton of energy, they're excited, they have confidence, and that was my favorite part. You know, it was always a goal to go to Omaha. Every college coach dreams of doing that, and the first time's always special. But for me, it was like the practices, the locker room, you know, the bus rides, the celebrations together. That's what I remember, you know. And I love those guys.
You had a really special group. I think, you know, we get a chance to talk to a lot of teams and a lot of players, and you can tell the authenticity and the chemistry that you guys have. And I do think that's a credit also to your staff and the group of people that you guys have surrounding these young athletes as well. But I wanted to ask you a little bit about your background in St. John's, but specifically Ed Blankmeyer. And I know we don't have enough time in the world for you to tell me about that experience, but what are some of the major takeaways from Ed that you have continued to carry with you through your journey?
I saw him today and gave him a big hug. I love that guy. He's like baseball's Yoda. He's so smart. He's really wise. And he just has, you talk about feel. He's the ultimate feel guy. He has really good feel to make decisions in games, game management. He's really good at managing his players, his bullpen. He has so much experience, and he sees the game through such a different lens. And he has this uncanny ability to tell you the truth and make it lighthearted, where it seems like it's in jest, but you know that he's telling it to you as straight as possible. And he gets you to let your guard down. But then, like, later on, it, like, hits you, and you're like, ooh, yeah, he's right. And it stays with you, so he can motivate people, and he just does such a good job of truth-telling and managing, and he's just really, really good baseball guy. I've learned so many things from him. I don't even know where to start. Like, I could talk for hours. And the experiences and people I met there, you know, you talk about relationships and energy, and it comes from the top, you know. We're really lucky that like, my best friends are people I work with, and my boss is a great human being. He's a really good guy, and he's got really good energy, and he really cares. And our staff does. We care about each other, and we love working together. And it was the same thing at St. John's. And I think the thing that I feel the most gratitude towards is that everywhere I've worked, I've literally loved the people I've worked with. I've worked with awesome people. I've worked with winners that care, that have passion. Rob Vaughn, Anthony Papio, Matt Swope, Scotty Loazzo at Southern New Hampshire, Ryan Herb at Binghamton, and obviously Billy Salento and Matt Wessinger here, Ty Blankmeyer when he's at Duke now when he was here. All these guys, you know, Coach Walter, they're just great people. And I think that, you know, your team will be a reflection of the coaching staff and of the people that you're around every day. And if they see you having fun, if they see you caring about it and putting the effort in and being truth tellers and being authentic, like, they're probably going to be more like that, you know. And I think authenticity and realness is something that you don't see often today. You know, I think people are sometimes afraid to be vulnerable with their players, and they're afraid to be, you know, have that open dialogue of communication and collaboration. And I think that that's an insecurity, if I'm being honest. And it doesn't allow there to be that level of trust where people can try to be their most authentic self, you know?
I mean, it is, the relationships are everything, right, in this game. Like we just talked about, you walk around here, you can't really go that far without stopping and saying hi to somebody or having this conversation about motor preferences in the middle of the lobby with everyone walking by you, right? The last one I wanted to ask you is just a little bit about the future, because we know what's being built at Wake Forest and being built in college baseball. I think it's a great thing for college baseball and teams that want to replicate what you do, and teams that are on their own path to having labs and people who are so much smarter than me in science and math, right? And so much smarter, but they can see the game in a different way, which is really special and helpful when you want to recruit kids, but kids who want to come to your program or kids who want to be elite college pitchers. The game has been raised. So what is the future for college pitchers? What would you say are one or two things that if a kid wants to be at that level, that they should be working on, or what they should expect if they get to a program like Wake Forest?
Well, I think the first thing is the NCAA, and it's a little jarring at first when they changed the entire recruiting calendar. I think we all were like, whoa, that's dramatically different really fast, and it is. But the long-term effects are we're going to allow for more development. We're going to allow for kids to not have to be recruited as freshmen and sophomore. They're going to be able to grow up, grow into their bodies, mature as people. And so step one is like, I think we need to spend more time on development. I think we need to spend more time on trying to win as a team. I think too often times it's like we get in this mold of we have to showcase, or we have to train to throw hard or something, but like we lose the nuances of being in a winning culture, being a part of a great team, learning how to have habits, learning how to fail so that you can actually look at yourself in the mirror and say, hey, I got to get better, you know? And I think delaying the recruiting process right now is going to be big for everybody because we don't have people making decisions on schools at such an early age, and we take the carrot away from them that's motivating them to be better people. And so I think that's step one, right? Step two is the game's raised. Like, everybody's better. Every team is good. Teams that weren't good the year before probably are going to be better the next year. There's more resources, more funding put into college baseball. We have more coaches. So the bar's raised. Everyone's good. Everyone's good. So I would say that, like, you have to be ready for intense competition, you know? I don't know what can prepare young high school kids for it because it's unlike anything I've ever seen. There's so many good players. I would say that the biggest thing is try to trust your gut with the relationships that you build and where you're deciding to go to school, number one. And number two, be able to deal with adversity because you're going to go there and it's going to be really hard for young guys to play right away now. It's just the talent level's through the roof. And you know, I think that have thick skin and trust your gut on the decisions you make. Make relational decisions, not transactional decisions. You know.
Are you guys reading a book this year? You read Legacy last year.
Yes, we're reading.
Are you allowed to tell me?
Yeah, no, we are. I was just had to think about it for a second. We read Relentless with Tim Grover.
Okay.
Walt picked the book. He's going. We actually elongated how we're kind of disseminating the information of the book this year. So last couple of years we just did it at the retreat, and this year we're like spreading it out over time. Yeah.
Thank you for your time,
Yeah.
for your insights, and for sharing your knowledge. I appreciate it.
Well, thanks for having me. Lucky to be here. So, thank you.
Boy, that was such a good conversation. I happened to be lucky enough to be on a panel last night with Coach and Corey's passion at Wake Forest. You and I get so excited about Wake Forest as we welcome you back to our studio stateside outside of the floor. Corey, what a wonderful conversation. Danny, for that. I'm told I may be going back to Danny in just a little bit. But Tyrone Brooks joins us, the Senior Director, Front Office and Field Staff Diversity Pipeline Programs for Major League Baseball. Every year we have this conversation. Every year I love connecting with you. Tyrone, how are you? Thanks for being with us.
I'm doing great. Glad to be here, Darren, Hunter as well. I mean, just the opportunity to get a chance to chat and talk to you about some of the work that we've been doing, which has been really exciting during the course of an entire year since talking to you last year.
Yeah, it's very interesting, and I'm gonna just be frank with you. In preparing for this, I go and visit your social media. You are a Pied Piper of this work. You are incredibly active. Your level of travel is pretty tireless, and I know you're home when you need to be home. But you're not just doing it from an office, my friend. You are really a hands-on leader. So when you come here to ABCA, how rewarding is it to run into people, to share your ideas, to let them know, hey, that idea you have, Major League Baseball's with you. We support that. How rewarding is it?
It's very rewarding. First and foremost, you know, thankfully my wife, April, is so just supportive and allowing me to really focus on my dreams while still obviously being a husband and a parent. So,
right.
But just the opportunity to get in front of individuals here at the ABCA. I've been a part of also the diversity committee here. We have a great session that's going to take place tomorrow, which is going to allow us to get further in talking to candidates that are here, just letting them know about the work that's out there, getting a chance to really with all the coaches that are here, and obviously many people that are in the coaching side also can go into the scouting side or going into a front office. So just trying to let people know, what options are available for them. And now just to see the product of our work, seeing a lot of alumni that we've been able to help in the programming with the Diversity Pipeline program the program is now 8+ years now. Just seeing that's just like a testament of it. Just seeing individuals that are now in an opportunity where they're now making meaningful impact in the organizations they're working for, and then trying to continue to build that.
You are definitely making a meaningful impact, a big one, and you've been doing it for a long time. You mentioned how you scouted me in AAA. That's a long time ago. You had a great assessment of a weird swing. I appreciate that, having a little faith in your guy. Now, talk a little bit. You said you've hired a lot of people just in the last year. You had a good year. I want to hear, I forget the number, but it was a pretty amazing number. And it's creating opportunities and letting people know that they have the opportunity and finding ways to diversify. And where can a kid that's aspiring to work with MLB, where can they connect with you or find those opportunities? What would that spiel be?
Yeah, first and foremost, with the Diversity Pipeline program, we're now, as a unit, since we started back in 2016, we're actually about to go over 600+ hires as a program.
Wow.
But really the last 2 years, the engines have been really going. We've had over 120+ each of the last 2 years, which has been really solid. A big part of that is just there's different ways to get in the door. And that's whether you're going into an entry-level opportunity as an intern, going into a full-time role as a scout, but there's also a lot of part-time areas that somebody can do something to get started. We have a lot of affiliations with things like the MLB Draft League, the Appy League. Those are all great ways, and also other seasonal roles that are open in every ballpark. That's one thing you don't understand a lot of times is behind the scenes. There's folks that have to be in position helping with all the data, information that's out there. But a big part is being there to help our clubs as a resource. We also have what's called the MLB Diversity Fellowship Program. That's a full-time post-grad opportunity. Right now, we're in the midst of getting ready for our fourth cohort of that program. We've had our first 2 classes, which are fully complete. We had over a 90% success rate of those getting hired full-time in positions in our industry. And right now, our 3rd class is wrapping up right now. And now just having this 4th cohort getting ready, getting started. Clubs are going through the vetting process. But also, people can look at our website, MLB.com/careers. And on the careers website, you'll see the Diversity Pipeline program listed right there very clearly. Individuals can go through, they can upload their resume information in there. Then I can follow up with them, try to go through that process, just try to help them. A big part of what I do in the work that we're doing overall, and that's thanks to the support of Michael Hill, who's my boss, Senior Vice President of One Field, and having the faith of Morgan Sword, who's one of our executive VPs, and also the commissioner, and also Dan Halem, our deputy commissioner. Just being able to have that support to do the work that we're doing. Even this past summer, we had a great experience where we have a bunch of leagues, our MLB partner leagues, different independent leagues, and we actually spent time where I literally visited along with other people, with Rajay Davis, Bo Porter. We visited all 48 teams during the course of like a 2-month window. And just getting a chance to get in front of those players that are eventually going to have to decide what's next for themselves. So just trying to help on that side. So in addition to those that are coming out of college, those players, how we can help them as they transition from playing in the big leagues, in the minor leagues, or independent ball, finding ways to help them.
Yeah, and it's needed, and we need programs like this. It's really important work. Now, I think the thing that's really important for anyone to know out there that loves baseball, that you don't have to be a player, you don't have to be the #1 draft prospect to find a way to be connected to baseball. There is so many jobs behind the scenes that helps Major League Baseball tick, that helps all of these independent teams tick. And so I think that website in and of itself, MLB.com/careers, really beautiful stuff. And then I guess my next question to me would be, like, what are you most excited about right now?
Yeah, one of the great events we just finished up, actually, with the baseball winter meetings taking place. We had a new event we put together called Advancing Bases, which was focused on helping those employees that are very early in their career, and then also those that were trying to break in, and having individuals that are more experienced coming in and helping and talking to them to give them inspiration, sharing knowledge. We had a great group of panelists that were part of, and speakers that were part of that. Ron Washington.
Oh my God!
It was Harold Reynolds, the moderator, one of the panelists, Craig Counsell. It was just a great thing that we had. We also had 2 assistant GMs involved in that as well. But having those individuals sharing their knowledge, and that's what it's all about in this industry. Even when I broke in 28+ years ago, having somebody really be willing to share their information, their knowledge, and then just kind of helping to inspire me and kind of give me some guidance along the way. And that's what we're trying to do. And one thing I tell individuals that are trying to break in, understand, you cannot do this by yourself. There has to be someone along the way who sees something in you and is willing to share and give you that guidance that you need along the way. And also, that's where sponsorship is so important, as we all eventually have to have someone who sees something in us and is willing to kind of take us on that ride with them.
It's interesting because for you, and you and I have talked about it, but I'd love to, and we've done it on a recorded interview, bring it here to this live show. You had someone believe in you, and it's an organization that we both know so very well. They gave me a chance to learn things too. But many years ago, the Atlanta Braves, and Hank Aaron was part of that group, Stan Kasten part of that group, and beginning your opportunities to look what you've built with your career in baseball leadership and scouting and player development. But what happened back in the early days to get you started with the Atlanta Braves? Why don't you remind everyone? Because I'm guessing that's what still makes your heart beat today, right?
Yeah, I hope I don't start crying on set just because of the opportunity I got, thanks to Hank Aaron, Stan Kasten, Ruby Lucas, who was the widow of Bill Lucas, who was the first black general manager.
Yes.
They put together a program in Atlanta, the Career Initiative program, that opened up a door for me and many others to get started. And when I got that chance to come through, I graduated from the University of Maryland. 2 days later, I was on the road driving down to Atlanta to get started. And quick story, I literally got lost on my first day going into Fulton County Stadium, and I couldn't find the stadium. I literally was lost and thought about just driving home at that, because I just felt, I'm going to be late on my very first day. But thankfully, just that opportunity to come in, Paul Snyder, who we just recently lost,
yes.
He was such an inspiration, helping me, Dayton Moore, and obviously John Schultz and what he provided as the leader of the organization. Just that opportunity to want to give me a chance to grow, and a chance I got to come in from the very ground up and kind of see everything from the very bottom and continue to work and learn how scouting and player development was so important to the organization first and foremost, and then getting a chance to grow. I went out in the field as a scout, came back in the office as they wanted to continue to grow me as an executive. And so I'm just truly, that was the foundation for me, and that's where I'm always going to be just thankful for that opportunity.
That collection of human beings, I was fortunate, through different avenues to be a learner there, doing their pregame show back in the late 90s. And I will always swear to the learning I did. So much learning, but there was kind of a teaching situation there with John and with Bobby Cox, and the availability and then kind of the senior leadership of Hank Aaron when he needed to be there, right?
Yeah.
And I want to wrap just talking about, and we talked about this last year, young women who are passionate about this game. My youngest daughter, who's a college graduate soon, has been bitten by the bug, and for the last year and a half only, she couldn't have spelled baseball prior to that, lives, eats, and breathes it. And so someday she'd love to have the opportunity. So for those women out there that are seeking that opportunity and would like to find their space in baseball, just quickly remind us some of the great programs you guys have developed for women.
Yeah, we have a really good program that we've had since 2018, which is called Take the Field. It happens every year during the baseball winter meetings. So it's a chance. This year we had over 100 women that came from all over, all different backgrounds. They got a chance to come in, learn further about different aspects of baseball operations. And as part of that, a big part of that is the partnership with teams and their representatives all coming in to kind of help be that sponsor and help individuals as we're looking to help them to go into different opportunities. So it fully, all the work I'm doing, even within the Diversity Pipeline program, which is connected all to this, getting in front of women that are playing softball, out doing different things at different schools, all this is all part of that. So it's kind of filtered them here to this opportunity. So this is like the culmination at the end of the year for a chance to try to help them continually. It's kind of build the information that they need to help them to take the next step for their career.
I saw you at NFCA. I saw you with Natasha.
I was there. It was
meeting
great.
with Ivy League softball teams. Like this, you are crazy in Robin Hood and leading the charge with all this. It's amazing. Thank you for your time. I really appreciate it.
Glad to be here. Thank you again. Happy to be here.
Great stuff. I'm told after this break, Danny Wexman has something for us. So when we come back after this break, we're going to go out to the trade room floor, the trade show, I should say, floor. And I think she's got some news she'd like to share. A great interview. Hunter, thank you for everything you did, pal.
Darren, it's a pleasure.
Loved having you with us
It was an honor. Thank you, Tyrone.
Appreciate it.
Great to
Thanks
meet
so
you.
much.
Loved having him. Love having Hunter Pence. Danny, when we come back.
I need all the wins, Ain't no L's, gotta get a no call to quits, Gotta keep on moving no matter how hard it gets,
Jordan, give me the rock and I'm scoring. Hey, came from the bottom, that's scoring. I swear that I'm up for the sun in the morning. I told him this ain't a game.
Learn from all of these. A quick recap when we look back too at how this day has gone. We started this morning with Michigan head coach Tracy Smith coming up here with Danny Wexelman and Hunter Pence hosting the first part of the day. And obviously Tracy, who several years ago was at Arizona State, now moves to Michigan, imparting his wisdom and sharing some of his great prospects. And he's got some real good ones. Excited for that. Todd Fitzgerald stopped by of Stoneman Douglas. This is a team that's perennially winning the high school national championship, and then, of course, winning the state championship in Florida. To Chan Brown, to Jimmy Osting, to Jeff Petty of the Canes. That was the first part of our day, and Danny Wexelman hosted the first part of that day. We'll tell you about the second half in just a minute, but I'm told Danny has some news for us out on the trade show floor. Danny, guys, take it away.
All right, Dee, thank you so much. We're out on the trade floor. There is a lot going on, as you can see, and we have a very special announcement. I am with Jeff from Soldier Sports. He's the CEO. And, Jeff, I can't wait any longer. Please share with us the news.
Well, we are very excited to announce that the Soldier Tank is the official metal bat of Perfect Game.
All right, how about that? So Soldier Sports, the metal bat, official bat for Perfect Game. How excited are you for this partnership?
We couldn't be more excited. It's a dream come true to be able to work with such an amazing organization like Perfect Game. We've worked 2.5 years to develop this bat, and now we get to be on this stage with you guys.
All right, show us what you got. Let's unveil it here. We're going to show everybody as Jeff opens up his Soldier Tank. Soldier Sports, again, now the official bat for Perfect Game, their metal bat. What a beautiful bat this is. All right, Jeff, so walk me through here a little bit what we got.
So this is the 2025 Tank BB Core. It drops on February 1st, and we're just really excited. We spent a long time in the development of this bat, about 2.5 years actually, 27 different iterations of the bat, working on the alloy, different alloys, barrel construction, wall construction, end cap, the end cap connectivity, and then all the way down, into the taper, the comfort grip of the tackiness, and the taper of the handle, which the taperness of this handle. We designed this to help reduce the amount of hamate bone injuries that you keep seeing.
I mean, these are beautiful. I love them. They're so fun. It definitely caters to the next generation of ball players, right? But you told me that you and your son Tanner collaborated on this. How special is that?
Yeah, it's pretty neat. We got to spend time together just hitting, and the engineers would make tiny different adjustments due to the different changes that we wanted to make, and all we would do is just go hit together, and it's been a labor of love. And so I developed this for my son, knowing that there's a lot of dads out there that are going to want this BB-Core bat and this youth bat, because we believe it's the best out there.
So these colors here really quick, because they are so outrageously awesome. And then we have the classic, right? The classic military black and green too. What went into that?
So we started with the 2024 version was the black and the green, but we got, we talked to a bunch of different kids, and they wanted, the pink and the blue is huge right now. The colors, everybody wants that. They want that swag. So either somebody's going to really, really love this colorway, or they're not going to love it, but at least they're going to notice it. And they're definitely going to notice the exit velocity and the pop that you get out of this.
Jeff, we're really excited. Congratulations. Thanks for giving us some time.
It's an honor. Thank you so much for having us.
Darren, back to you.
Incredible stuff. I mean, really worth celebrating for Perfect Game. Soldier Sports excited to have a brand new bat, certainly. When we come back, I'll have an opportunity to have a conversation with our boss, the CEO of Perfect Game, Rob Ponger, and the vision that he has. It's Rob. When we come back, we're at the ABCA here in Grapevine, Texas, the 80th edition. What's new in 24 for PG? Find out when we return.
Oh yeah. Wait for this one.
Game TV, a chance to connect with our Perfect Game CEO, Rob Ponger. Rob, thanks for hanging out with us on the network.
Thank you, Darren. Thanks for having me.
So your background, such a unique and successful background, and I want to go back for those that are curious and inquiring. And the one thing that always excites me about Perfect Game TV is when I put my own bio, I actually put the word co-founder on there with intent, because you're the co-founder as well. In 2020, when the pandemic was rolling and we knew we wanted to keep this company growing without events, you really were confident in nudging the concept of content out there, and now you're really doing the same with social media. How much does it mean, the concept of content and doing something like this with a streaming network for you as our leader? How much does it mean?
Well, it's my own background was in media, and I worked at IMG and was the CFO of the media group for years. And, we used to say content is king, right? And prior to COVID, we didn't have PG.TV. And creating this platform to give the kids and the parents basically a place to shine, to show their kids off, to put them in the spotlight. I think that's what separates PG from any other organization as well, is we are a youth sports television network. We have fantastic content out there, fantastic social media, and it's really helped mainstream the brand of Perfect Game, which has led to many other opportunities within the Perfect Game space.
Yeah, and it really has. It's interesting. So I watched you. We had a little fun with you today, and you were on a call and meeting. But as we roll into 24 now, what are some of the ventures or plans that excite you most for Perfect Game that are maybe in the near couple of months to nudging out forward?
Yeah, no, it's a great question. And, obviously PG.TV and the social media presence will continue to expand.
Yeah.
Our content's fantastic, but some of the things I'm really excited about, certainly we have Diamondcast, and now we have Diamondcast Plus. And we always had Diamondcast, which was a scoring app, and all the parents and kids could see their stats. So now we've attached video to that, which is amazing. So now if a kid has 4 at-bats on a Saturday, they can see their at-bats that night. They can see their at-bats 2 minutes after they're taken for the most part. So having the ability to see your son or daughter's at-bats is incredible to me. And I think that's an incredible platform. What parent, if your son goes 4 for 4 with 4 hits, that dad's going to show off those clips to everybody. That mom's going to show off that clip to everybody in their office the next day. And they have those moments for life. I mean, imagine going back, Darren, and seeing your clips pitching. I wish I could see my clips from high school. It would be amazing. But it's just kind of lost right now. So I'm really excited by that. I'm really excited by our apparel business and our relationship with Dick's. I think we're in 250 Dick's Sporting Goods stores now. That continues to grow. And, obviously, as we continue to grow too, our products, whether it's our partnerships with Launch Hydrate, whether it's the announcement that we just made with Soldier Sports on the metal bat, and that will continue to grow as Perfect Game looks at more opportunities, because we sit in the ecosystem of youth sports. We have an amazing platform of 1.5 million kids playing on an annual basis, and my bet is that number will be 2 million in 2024. So it's a fantastic platform, and realistically, I'm also excited. Just a fantastic group of people that work at Perfect Game who work on it and care and have a passion about what they do.
Different backgrounds. I always say, and I agree with you, I love people that want to join us, that want to be in our space. Because it's a unique space, but you have to want to be here. And you're right, you have assembled, especially since you come on board, people that really want to be in this space, and they're really talented. That's the neat part about it. I want to ask you about the prospect pathway, because we've all loved the growth and explosion of the Select Festival age group. But it's more than that now. It's comprehensive evaluation for young athletes. It's support when they might need it on the recruiting process. So you, as our leader, tell us a little bit about the vision of Prospect Pathway.
Well, I think Prospect Pathway is really an extension of what we additionally developed with the showcases for the older kids. So now we're going down market in terms of age. We want the 13-year-olds, the 14-year-olds, the 12-year-olds to have an opportunity to show off their skills, right? And it's not, I'll say, not as intense as a showcase, right? So the Prospect Pathways, it grades the kids, and ultimately what it does is it allows them to show how they can improve. Because after this, if maybe your exit velocity is weak, or you're not throwing as hard as you should, well, that's going to lead to training. It's going to lead to these kids. Every kid that plays wants to get better. They're aspirational. They want to play D1 baseball. They want to be drafted into the major leagues. And I think the Prospect Pathway is an exciting new venture for Perfect Game to really push forward and open up the door to a lot of kids to really get a chance to shine.
So I'd like to, I was on a podcast earlier, and for me, I answered a question about, the prospects and the bigger names. Look, Bobby Witt sat on this stage in this chair, but he was asking about everybody else, which was all of us that played. None of us were Bobby Witt. That's why he's so special. And I said to him in the answer, and I just love your thoughts on this, I said in the answer, look, Perfect Game, truly, the heartbeat and the lifeblood of Perfect Game is the guy that goes to NAIA, is the guy that goes to D2 baseball. As we grow softball, it's the same, but let's stick to baseball. There are hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of those athletes where there's 1 or 2 Bobby Witts. It's important that we always remember that, and that's what makes it fun. Those young athletes, those dreamers, they're our best customers, aren't they?
They're absolutely the best customers. And you said, Bobby Witt Jr., what an incredible career he's off to and has been a star for years. But we had 1.5 million kids play in 2023. And there's only so many kids that are going to get drafted and only so many kids that will go to D1 schools. But like you said, maybe they go to a D3 school. Maybe they go to they're really good at 13 or 14 and go to a high school and get a better education.
Yeah.
So we're giving them an opportunity to go to college. They might not be a pro, but not every kid will be a pro ultimately. So I think ultimately baseball is such a fun game. We make it more fun. We give them a platform to shine. And the kid who's not Bobby Witt Jr. is still going to be on PG.TV. He still has a player profile. He can still see his highlights 10 years from now, ultimately. And I think that's amazing to have that content forever.
We've really built out East Cobb. It almost feels like what it's been done at Dodger Stadium or what they did at Wrigley around it. you took a classic complex and you've brought it up to the modern world, but it still feels classic. That's what's beautiful about it. So certainly comment on East Cobb, but then also as far as facilities go, are there any other places out there that you can talk about possibly growing to as well?
Yeah, I mean, obviously East Cobb, you know, the transformation that we put into that, we really re-turfed it during COVID. It was unbelievable, the timing of it. I mean, we obviously didn't plan COVID, but, you know, by the time we were able to play baseball again, the turf was ready, and East Cobb is probably the #1 facility in America right now in terms of the volume of kids that play there. And we're in Texas this week, and you know, we're hoping to announce, you know, the groundbreaking of Cedar Park outside of Austin, you know, probably in the second quarter of this year, which is exciting to have a 16-field complex that will be out, which will be just a premier space. And Texas, what a great state to play baseball. And there's constant conversations with other facilities, whether it's in California, Illinois, Indiana, Arizona. We keep expanding. Our regional presence grows and grows and grows every single year.
So what excites me the most at times is, and I told you this, look, I'm a Dodger fan, so I watched the fun Mookie Betts video on his platform. And he brought some youngsters into the ballpark recently, and they, of course, were getting to hit with Mookie Betts. What a dream, right? You get to learn from Mookie Betts. But what jumped off the page to me was the fact that they were wearing Dodger Betts jerseys and Dodger Betts T-shirts and Dodger hats, except for one young man who was wearing a Dodger blue perfect game hat. He had a PG on his logo in that video. That's really what you're trying to do, right? And I understand the concept of marketing on the business side, but the word is cool. I understand that word is cool, but also for the parents, the trust that we have instilled and grown with the parents, both parents and athletes, you want that brand to continue to grow and mean more than what it has in the past.
Oh, absolutely. I think the way we've, you know, obviously Perfect Game has always, for 27 years, ran the best tournaments, the best showcases. We have the best scouting. But again, I think when we came into Rick Thurman and myself came into this company, what we saw was a brand, ultimately.
Right.
And this PG brand, it's an elite brand. It's a badge of honor. If you're wearing that PG hat, to me, you're proud wearing that PG hat. If you're wearing a PG shirt like this, you're proud wearing it. And I think it crosses over. It's not just baseball. As we continue to grow, it will be other sports. And, you know, one story I have, when I was in Orlando this year in March, there were a bunch of kids down there from high school, which I assume they were there for baseball practice, you know, baseball training coming down. And I asked them, what are you here for? Well, we're playing lacrosse. And like 5 of the 15 kids were wearing Perfect Game shirts. And I was like, wow, the crossover's there. And I think that will continue. I think the PG brand, you know, I think we're going to continue to grow. And, you know, it's not a stretch to think that we're going to be on par one day with the Nikes and Adidases and the Under Armours. And that's where PG is headed.
Yeah, it's incredible, too. And the last thing I want to ask you about is the real future of Perfect Game, and that's that youth space. I've watched you as part of this company reach out to, connect with great leaders around this country in the youth space, and then, if it makes sense for you, brought them into the PG family. As you've seen our youth space evolve, how excited are you at the 9, 10, 11-year-old age group, and what's next?
Yeah, listen, I think what's next, we're going to continue to grow the youth space, and it's something that we really focused on, and I think it helps mainstream Perfect Game to give the opportunity to 9, 10, 11-year-old kids to get into the ecosystem of a Perfect Game. And, you know, what's next is, I think, with all the initiatives we have on the table, the Diamond Cast, the apparel, the product, but I think, you know, we're going to look to really push into the softball space and the fast pitch space as well, and potentially other sports as well down the road. But we're very excited. We also always know our core is baseball.
Yeah.
And nobody does it better than the group of people that put on the Perfect Game events and scout the players and produce the media. So I couldn't be more proud coming into 2024 of the direction of this company and where we're headed.
It must be an interesting pitch for you, and I lied. I do have one more, because I just thought about it. You and I recently had a meeting in New York, and it was really nice office with people that don't do baseball, for lack of better words, and they share the office space, which was fun. It must be a wonderful pitch for you to come in and introduce Perfect Game, to bring people into our world and introduce who you are, what our company is, and what we do. I'm going to guess you blow some people's hair back.
Well, you know, we definitely do, because I think Perfect Game, again, the brand continues to grow, and people, we want it to become a household name. But 5 years ago, it wasn't. Certainly in the baseball community,
Right.
It was. But when you start talking about the numbers about, you know, we had 1 million video downloads on Roku last month. Our social media is in the millions. our YouTubes in the hundreds of thousands. Like I said, the 250 Dick's Sporting Goods stores. People are blown away when they see how big our reach is and how many people play in the community of baseball and sports. We sit right at the top of it. And, you know, we're a breeding ground for the next generation of athletes. And, you know, we also take time to make sure that we are doing the pitch tracks and making sure that kids aren't overused and stuff in our tournaments, right? And we plan on doing even more of that at 2024. And also just giving kids opportunity to be introduced to baseball at a young age. So there's a lot of charitable stuff that we do, and we'll continue to do that. And there's a lot of things that we'll probably be announcing in the next couple of months that will show, you know, how PG continues to kind of push and be an innovator in the space.
Yeah, I'll always say, if you talk about challenges you may have, talk to your travel team, talk to those in your community, and talk to us. If you can't find your way there and there's a reason you're challenged, I know how you guys operate. You'll listen. Your leadership will listen. The travel group will reach out. We've seen it happen a lot of times for players that have found their way through where it was maybe a challenge. And I know that's the work you do. Thank you.
Thank you, Darren.
We really appreciate it. This has been all sorts of fun, man.
Awesome.
Thanks for letting us build this.
It's great.
Supporting us and letting us build this. What a day it's been here at the ABCA. We have learned from so many great athletes, father-son first-round picks. It's been a blessing to bring you all of this content. So as we say goodbye, we will remind you, we'll be back tomorrow, another full slate of guests. As this great convention goes on, 7,000 coaches have gathered here in Grapevine, Texas at the American Baseball Coaches Association, an event that started back in 1945 at the New York Athletic Club when a couple of college coaches got together. Oh, baby, look at us now at the ABCA. This is what we have tomorrow, taking you around the nation, around different parts of baseball, different age groups with baseball. Danny Wexelman and I will kick things off in the morning. Then Danny's going to grab hold. I'll go on autopilot, and she's going to take it on home. We certainly appreciate that you spend time with us on Perfect Game YouTube and on Perfect Game TV. We want to thank our production team in Orange County, California, certainly right here, and then in Brooklyn, New York as well. On behalf of that entire team, Hunter Pence and Danny Wexelman, my name is Darren Sutton. We'll see you tomorrow from Texas.